Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Sunday live Uber debate, and with the recent news in London of Uber and the challenges that they're faced with regard to the licensing laws in London and their revocation. Today, we bring you an international and live broadcast with regards to Uber. My name is Bradley Chapman, and we're starting the show and we're starting live. We're going to be broadcasting around the world now as we welcome in our different guests. So now at the moment, as I just introduced the show, what's going to happen today is we're having an open debate with regard to Uber. On Friday here in the UK, the breaking news was that Uber's London license was revoked by Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, under the Transport for London. Now, what's happened as a result of that? Since then, of course, there's been a petition signed with Uber, loyal Uberers that want Uber to get back. But at the moment, their license has been revoked, and they have now 21 days, just 21 days, to appeal their decision. With regards to what they can do to see if they can potentially overturn this. Now, on today's show, we're going to be joined by experts from around the world. So if you're watching the show right now, we kindly ask you to, share the link, because this is a global discussion. Number two, we ask you to invite your friends into the broadcast to talk about Uber, whether you're an Uber driver or somebody that's involved with Uber in terms of an executive level. You're a black cab company operator, that you may well be somebody that is a private hire license company. You own your own company and you've been affected by Uber. There are emotions that's running through the experience of Uber, not just from the consumer point of view, but from the business owners as well. So we're going to be joined today by some various experts, and the experts joining us today are Mr. Tim Burt from the USA. Tim Burt's the founder of Tim Burt Media and a former CBS radio executive. Scott Reagan, we're hopefully getting online later on as well. He owns a media company in the States. Mindy Hart, who's online at the moment and standing by to share the discussion and her thoughts on Uber. She is a PR specialist, an Uber Jedi in the PR industry. And Sean Mulrooney, another amazing man from Missouri, who owns Teens of America and the Obesity Revolution. He'll also be joining us and sharing his advice as well. I'm just going to adjust my camera slightly so that you can see the three people that's going live. Now, just bear with me. There we go. That might be better for you to see us all. So essentially, what we're doing is we're now going to be sharing the broadcast. We're going to be inviting you to come in and join the broadcast and have your say. We can have up to 3 people live on the broadcast at any one time. And what I'm doing right now is I am copying into the live comments. I'm going to be copying into the live comments, and I'm going to be sharing with you the link for you to be able to join the show. So as I post into the comment box now, I've posted in the thread now, and you should now be able to see a link which will enable you to join the show. It will enable you to be able to join and see us and exactly what's happening, and you'll be able to come onto the show. You'll be able to broadcast live. So that's the scene set. We've also got Robert J. Moore standing by as well from Canada to go online. I'm just waiting for Tim to just come back online as well. So welcome to this broadcast. We're going to be broadcasting for approximately 2 hours today. It's going to be a lengthy broadcast. We've got plenty of time to discuss Uber and your effects. Now, we're going to be trying to keep up with the comments on one screen because the comments went pretty nuts on Friday. But once again, please do share, invite your friends into the broadcast, and of course, get involved in the discussion. We'll be going for approximately 2 hours. Now, as I'm controlling the platform here, I'll also be looking at guests that's coming into the lobby. So once again, if you want to join the show and you want to go live on air, okay, you want to go live on air, we want to make sure that you can click the link, connect up with Be Live TV. It connects directly to your Facebook page, and you'll then go into the lobby where I'll see you. You can say, "Hi, Bradley, this is what I'd like to talk about," and I can put you live on air with us. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Umar Hussain. Umar Hussain is the founder of a cab company, which is called happycabs.com. So he is a private hire license operator and company owner. This broadcast is about a balanced view, but I'm going to introduce you now to Umar, and we're going to talk very, very briefly just how his initial thoughts are on Uber. But let me just introduce him so he can share his background of his company and perhaps what the overall view of his company is. So just a couple of minutes, I'm going to introduce you now to Umar Hussain so he can set the scene. So welcome to the broadcast. If you are an Uber driver, you're an owner, operator, you're involved in the private hire arena, we want you to get involved. We will be spinning through the comments that are being listed, and make sure you write a comment, you post a comment, you introduce yourselves and get involved with the show. If you want to ask a question, please ask a question with regards to anything about Uber. Post it in the comments box. If you'd like to come live on the show, obviously, click the link and you can come on. Now we've got some posts on here already, which I'll be going through in just one second. But I'm going to introduce you now to Mr. Umar Hussain, just to introduce his company, what he does, and a quick couple of minutes to set the scene from a private hire operator's point of view. Now we're hoping to have Uber drivers coming on board. This is an unbiased broadcast. We'll also be going to our experts for the experts to be commenting on their thoughts, whether it be emotions, marketing, whether it be a coaching point of view. And we've got a really fantastic lineup over the next 2 hours of different specialists coming on board. But once again, can I kindly ask you to invite your friends into the live feed, to share the news and to spread the live broadcast. It'd be very much appreciated. I'm Bradley Chapman, international business coach, author, public speaker, journalist, and radio show broadcaster. Thank you for joining the show. Please let me introduce you to, first of all, Mr. Umar Hussain.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Umar Hussain, Managing Director of Happy Cabs in Essex. We're based in 3 different towns. We're based in Chelmsford, Malden, and Stansted Airport. Over the last 5 years, we've grown as a business. There has been challenges. You've got Uber and across the country. So all it is obviously Happy Cabs has gone through its rebrand over the last 4 years. 3 years ago, it went through a new rebrand. We done things differently. We've done differently things to what competitors do. We were the first app company in Chelmsford in 2011, and by 2013 and early 2014, we were the eco-friendly vehicles hybrid we introduced into the city, and and we do courier service, executive, and taxi service, and we're also looking at removals next. So yeah, for us, it's been a good growth plan for us as a business. Technology obviously talks. We are a technology-based company as well. Obviously, we implement technology, we invest heavily into technology, and that's where we are today. Thank you.
So absolutely fantastic. So we're going to be obviously taking comments and live. Once again, if you want to join the show, there is a link in the thread. The link that's in the thread will enable you to join the show live and come on board. Now, what we're going to do first of all, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm just waiting for one of my guests now to come live. He's now with us. We've now got Tim Burt online, former CBS radio advertising executive, and also we have Mindy Hart. Just please make sure, if you are coming online, that you have no other volume or kickback in your own studio broadcasting, so I don't have any feedback. So let me just introduce you first of all to Tim Burt, then I'll introduce you to Mindy Hart. Tim Burt, thanks for joining us. We wanted to share your views on Uber from a marketing perspective. You created over 30,000 marketing adverts, commercials around the world. You are an expert. Just 1 second. I think we just lost our feed there. Just bear with me.
Yeah, you're back now.
There we go. We're back on.
There
So technology. There we go. Okay, Tim Burt, your thoughts, please. Is it the end for Uber?
No, it's not. and I will say this, to paraphrase my good friend Bradley Chapman, I am totally knackered this morning. I was up very late. I was doing research. I was scouring every possible website I could find. The Guardian, the Sun, Daily Mail, and it's very odd. This story, depending on where you look, has just completely dropped off the front page. On the, I believe it was the Daily Mail, I had to go way down on the page to find anything about Uber. Yesterday, it was, I swore I was looking at an American paper. I'm not kidding you. I swear I thought I was looking at USA Today or the New York Times or the Washington Times. I had no idea. So I literally had to do a Control F search for Uber, and it was way down at the bottom of the page. So is it the end for Uber? No, it's not. They have faced these sorts of things well, first off, they're about to get banned in Italy. I don't know if you know this or not. They're about to get kicked out of Italy totally. They faced these sorts of situations before in Australia. God, where else? I had a list and I can't find it because I've got notes scattered all over the place. But Australia, a lot of other European countries, Eastern European countries. Here in St. Louis, in Missouri, in the U.S., let me tell you what happened here. It was almost the inversion of what happened there in London. The taxi commission, basically the taxi union here in St. Louis, fought to keep Uber out for years. Well, one day, Uber just said, screw it. They turned their service on. And the next thing you know, people are using Uber. I mean, and of course, there was the big court fight, and it just sort of died, and now Uber is a part of our society. In London, it's the complete opposite. Khan says, oh, you're not going to get your license renewed. Okay, so, and that's going to be on the 30th, I believe, September 30th. Is that right?
Yeah, they've got 21 days to appeal now.
Right. Okay, so if you've got 21 days to appeal, can we talk about why they're not going? Why the TfL is not going to renew their license? Umar, why is this happening from your perspective? What do you think?
I think it could be a number of reasons. Personally, obviously Uber's got a high number of complaints in assault, obviously rape. It's all been on public. It's been in the London. A lot of complaints has been coming from consumer people, and also they had a problem with their driver statuses and lack of corporate responsibilities. So it got to the point where the mayor of London, wanted them out as well. Because it's been in the press all over the place, and they've got 21 days to appeal. This is the normal process across the country. If your operator's license gets revoked, or as a driver, your driver's license gets revoked, normally they've got 21 days to appeal. Whether you can get legal services involved or anything, you can appeal within 21 days.
So the reason I brought up the thing about the websites and how not being able to see anything about Uber right on the top, that leads me to think that there is something far deeper going on here. I don't know if it's a change of money. I don't know if favors are involved. It's something just doesn't seem right. But to the public, they don't know and they don't care. All they know is that Uber is going to be turned off. That's the headline. That's the story. But now this thing has dropped really, really fast. That leads me to think there's something else at play. So if you own a cab company, so if you're like Umar and you have a cab company, you need to be prepared for two situations. One, you need to be prepared from an advertising standpoint if Uber stays. And then if Uber does, in fact, get kicked out of London. So what do? You have to have two strategies. And both of them are very, very similar, yet it's how you deploy them. That's where social media comes into play, and Mindy can talk about that in just a minute, as soon as I stop rambling. But here's the thing: for Umar and other cab drivers in London, on the Sun website, they had a video that said, "What are the best alternatives to Uber?" And they did this video, and they highlighted, and I wrote these down. These are the 4 services that they highlighted. And Umar, you're going to know these right off the bat. My Taxi, which I think it seems like it's very popular. Cabby, Addison Lee, and Get.
Yes.
And so those are the 4 that they put in this video, and it's like, oh, these are these are just like Uber, or they're whatever. No, those are probably cabbies that are paying advertising schedules, or they've bought advertising on those websites. That's how they got in the video. So understand that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these apps you've just mentioned, you got Get, which is used to be part of Radio Taxis, I believe, and the Addison Lee app. They're just a cab firm in London, mini cab firm in London. The app, which is like Carhoo and Cabby, what happens there is operators sign up with them, they interconnect with them, and they normally pass you the jobs over and they charge you commission. That's what normally happens. So there's a lot of apps out there since Uber comes into the market. Even the local cab companies got apps as well now. Just to compete with the competition. And to be honest, the way the technology is moving forward and everything, it's great. Obviously, for us, it's been great because I interconnect with companies in London. I speak to taxi companies across Edinburgh. I speak everywhere. So whenever I speak with them, I see the challenges they suffer with, and we normally implement, and we always get ready beforehand. I mean, 2011, we were the first app company in Chelmsford launching, and we managed to get lots of customers in. So obviously Uber did come into Chelmsford at the weekends, but our business hasn't really suffered a lot because we've always been on top of marketing, and we've also got a number of app users who are currently using us for the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years.
I see.
So it all comes down to how you market your business. Technology is very important. And these days, customer needs insurance. I mean, sure. If they booked a taxi for 8 o'clock in the morning, you need to be there for 8. You must be there literally 5 till 8 o'clock in the morning, right on the dot. Where the old style cab companies, where they operate on radios, is very different because the cab might not be there at 8 o'clock. They can't track their drivers, right? And they're not giving the accurate information to the customer, which makes them look like a liar as well and stuff like that. But when you've got technology in place, you can track the car, customer can track the car. It reduces down number of volume of calls where my taxi is.
Yeah, it was something I found very interesting in the comments section on all of these websites. Talking about this.
Tim, sorry, let me just interject and just cut across you. I do apologise. I just need to update our audience and our viewers. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining, thank you very much indeed for joining this live and international debate. We're talking about Uber and Uber's licence being revoked in London. This has been breaking news in London and, of course, around the world currently. This is trending. What's going to happen with Uber? Where are they going to go from here? Will they win the appeal in London? How do you feel as an Uber driver? What emotions are you experiencing right now? The London black cabbies, how are you feeling? Can we get you online? This is a very, very emotional standpoint. London, the discussion has been nuts for the last 24, 48 hours since Friday. Everyone's discussion is about Uber and what's going to happen. Now, Joe Masafia has come online. His comment is saying it's not a sad day for Uber. It's Judgment Day for Uber. It's a sad day for all the Londoners who think that paying a human being the equivalent of minimum wage when they would not work for themselves, it's okay. Londoners are ignorant and only, let's have a look. Sorry, that's Londoners are ignorant and it's a cheap option, which in my opinion is mind exploitation. He's saying that I assume all Uber users will be holidaying at Butlins next year. No, why not? They're cheap. London taxis have been licensed since 1654 and are heavily regulated. The drivers are highly skilled professionals, not sat-nav slaves. Let's not pretend that Uber have exploited the working man. They've not told policies about the serious sexual assault and rape charges, cherry-picked the ones to report. They've not paid a single penny in tax or VAT in this country, enabling them to loss lead at 42% in an attempt to wipe out competition. They've lobbied and bribed officials and used that monetary lobbying power to sway those in high government positions, which has helped them to dodge proper background checks for its drivers. Hence the 48 sexual assaults so far this year alone. Rapes, drivers trying to shove their penises into drunk, unsuspecting ladies' mouths. And this is okay with you. Oh, but they're cheap, right? Their business model is illegal and immoral, and I thank goodness the TfL have now done the right thing in taking the steps to oust this toxic cowboy outfit from this fine city. Ironic, though, because where there's rain, snow, and a tube strike terrorist attack, and Uber surged their prices by 2.5 times. Suddenly, innovation and technology stay in people's pockets, and their hand goes in the air for a London black taxi local mini cab firm. All over London have gone out of business because of Kalanick and his slimeball company. Let's hope that after Uber are told by the whole High Court to do one, there will be a growth in the legal, safe, and with a call centre minicab firms can start to exist again. And let's hope that the majority of ex-Uber users realise that their exploitation of other human beings in the transport industry has now come around. So listen, a fantastic point of view. We're going to keep this absolutely balanced. But yes, let's just think about this for a second, and then I'm going to bring in Mindy Hart from a PR point of view. In London, if you are a black cabbie, you will need to go through approximately 3 years of absolutely grueling. Now, if you know anyone that's been on the knowledge in London for black taxis, it can take anywhere between 18 months and 3 years to secure your license. For 3 years, you will be crawling through the streets on a scooter. In the summer, sweating yourself to death in your kit. In the winter, freezing when you can't feel your hands. You will be going point to point, learning the knowledge, learning your trade and learning your skill. So from that point of view, 3 years in training, 3 years in education, you finally get your black cabbie badge. What a proud day it is for you. And actually, somebody online said, I'm just about to buy my first black cab. And they've been through that knowledge of working during the day, of struggling, their maps, their reading, their points. Now, I understand this because one of my dear friends is a black cabbie, and what he had to go through. Guys, we've got some background noise there. If any of the two broadcasts have got background feedback, can you please turn it down? If you've been through the black cabbie transportation and the growth and the training program, it's 3 relentless years. And when you finally get your badge, hey, you've earned it. But are black cab taxis in London keeping up with the technology that's needed? Could they do more? I'm going to bring in Umar very quickly and his thoughts on the training and the knowledge. I'm then going to answer some more posts online. Then we're going to go to Mindy Hart. So Umar, London black cabbies, they train for 3 years. Local private hire firms, they indeed will go through their own local training. So we've got to keep this, and we're going to have a long discussion. We're going to be broadcasting for 2 hours. I want to hear from Uber drivers, because not all the Uber drivers are bad drivers. Let's get real with this. They're not. But it's Uber's business policy, as Joey Musafia stated. They've come into the UK and the world, and they are buying business at a discount to put other people out of business. The consumer is happy because they're getting a discount on their journeys. But let me just understand, and let me just give you a psychological aspect, and then hopefully we'll bring Robert J. Moore in on emotions as well. If you had a shop and it was your family shop, and let's say it was a butcher's shop, and your dad's been working there his whole life, and he pays for all the children, looks after everybody. Somebody opens up an online butcher's store, and they offer butchery, pork, meat, and whatever else at a third less than your mum or your dad could sell it for. Even less than a third. They were doing it under cost. Your mum and dad went out of business in their shop, or if your mum and dad, your daughter or children went out of business because someone's business model was undercutting and losing money to take over the world with taxi cabs. How would you feel? So we've got to keep this balance. So I'm going to pass now to Umar. Taxi cab drivers have to do a vast amount of training. Is it comparable to Uber, and then we're going to go to Mindy Hart. Umar.
Yeah, right. So obviously, I was doing my research for the last 1 week. Black cab drivers in London. The knowledge test came in 1865, where all the cabbies in London have to literally do their knowledge test, which contains maybe 3 to 4 years worth of training. You have to go on the moped around London to learn the roads, and then you also have to do more than 300. You've got to learn over 2,000 roads, right, just to pass your test. Another thing is as well, obviously, when Uber came into the market, the black cabbies weren't really prepared for the challenge because, one, they never accepted credit cards in the vehicles. It was all cash business, and secondly, they weren't really up to the technology where Uber was. That's where they all got. Obviously, there was bad emotions there as well because obviously all the black cabbies earnings went down more than half because Uber was very cheap. And secondly, and black cabbies, they have studied nearly 3 to 4 years just doing the taxi knowledge around London. There's 2 types of licenses, I believe. One is the whole district of London, which you have to learn very heavy for. And one is, I think, the first 9 boroughs you can work. You can only apply for hire in one of the boroughs, which I looked on the website earlier today on TfL. So there is a lot of training involved for black cabbies in London, but obviously because they didn't move on with the times, they did get affected along the side. But now I understand there has been changes since then. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just going back to a comment now, thanks, Emma. That was absolutely fantastic. Nasser Nabiba sent us, are there really 40,000 Uber drivers working in London? The answer to that is yes, there are. There's 40,000 Uber drivers in London and something like 3.2 million users of that app here in London. Now, we've got somebody coming on in a short while from Texas. It's an amazing guy called Richard Trevino. Now, he's an author, a consultant, and an award-winning author. And in Texas, Uber were booted out. He believes Uber should be brought back. So we're going to bring him on into the conversation. So let me just answer a couple more comments. Joe Masavia saying, once Uber have got rid of black cabs, minicabs firms, Addison Lee and everyone else, their prices will surge. You know, Joey, that's absolutely true. That was their model. I think this is why there's the upset. They've come into the marketplace, but what they've done is they've tried to buy business by what's called customer acquisition at a loss to gain a market to then rise their prices. And absolutely, that was their model, that was their intention. But people revolt, and you can't underestimate the power of everyday people standing together when their livelihoods are being challenged. But how do we find a fair system? We want fantastic taxi cabs, private hire, public transport around the world. We want fantastic pricing, and we want good service, because don't forget, a consumer wants to have a deal, and a consumer won't care whether someone's going out of business, because in this world we need to save money. The financial crisis is tough, it's difficult. Now we want you guys to join the show. You've got the link to join the live show, and if you want to come on air as we're broadcasting over the next 3 hours, you can come online. I'm reposting the link now. I'm posting the link now. Now, Mohammed Ali Hasham says the butcher shop example isn't a credible argument. Let me just try and pull that up there. It's the way of business. Someone came in with a different, smarter model to provide the services. If anything, I'm just trying to scroll down in my comments. If anything, make the training to become a private hire driver tougher, but don't cry about it. Again, it's a great point of view. All of our point of views during this broadcast, please do engage and share your point of view. It was actually an analogy of emotion, the emotional thought that someone would feel if they lost their business. So let me just put it into real terms. If you are a private hire taxi cab owner in London, in the United Kingdom, Uber comes in, you've been in business for 25 years, you have staff that's worked for you for 25 years, you've built that business over 25 years, another taxi cab company comes in, undercuts the pricing to work at a loss, undercuts what the drivers are earning, he loses his business. The emotion's going to be one of anger and bitterness. That's my point. My point is, it's only until something actually happens to you and it's personal to you do you know how to feel. We're going to jump across now. We're going to bring in Mindy Hart. Mindy Hart is coming all the way from the United States. Mindy Hart is a specialist PR individual. She's a super angel. We're pleased to have her. Mindy, good afternoon, and how are you?
I'm wonderful. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely perfect this end.
So the thing that just keeps resonating with me all over the place, and Tim and I will commiserate about this often, your brand is what your customers say that it is. And right now, Uber in London and in other areas has some branding issues because their customers and their employees and the every government entity from municipalities all the way up to the national level has an opinion about Uber. And that's just the way that it is. So some of the things that they're going to have to address, and social media is going to be the platform to do a lot of that. They've got some issues with crimes that have been committed by drivers, and largely that has an impact because of the training levels that London has that Uber drivers have not adhered to. You've got the reliability issues, you've got the technology issues, and then, of course, you have the leadership and business decisions at the top of Uber, and this is not the first time that they've had these issues. So the things that we have to solve ultimately is the bad business decisions that have led to safety concerns and reliability concerns. And so technology gets addressed in that, crime gets addressed in that, and certainly the actual service that Uber provides gets involved in that. The other business decision that they have to do, they're independent contractors as opposed to employees, and that does impact the tax base. So there's business decisions at the top that are impacting it from a governmental perspective. The thing is, this is not just located in London where these concerns exist. It is going to infiltrate into the other countries across the world. And so from a social media perspective, we've got to do some brand management. The brand management and reputation management isn't going to be successful unless they address the infrastructure issues that exist in the first place. So some of this is they need a business consultant to come in and fix some of these infrastructure issues, the relations with the governmental entities, and then we can start to effectively address it from a consumer perspective through social media to do that reputation management. The social media strategies, if they haven't fixed the infrastructure and haven't ensured the customer safety, probably, Tim's heard this several times, you probably have heard about the Tylenol issues with the Tylenol cyanide poisonings back in the 80s here in the States. Tylenol had to make a really tough business decision, and they took all of those Tylenol capsules off of the shelves at great cost to them, but nobody was going to buy them anyway. And then they came back, reintroduced Tylenol to the market with the tamper-resistant packaging, because the one problem that they had to solve is that they had to make the consumer feel safe. So that's really where they need to focus, is the business decisions that got them here in the first place, building those government relationships and adhering to the local and municipal, here in the States, of course, the state and all the way up to the country requirements for the industry. And they're going to have to do that worldwide, and it's going to be different for every country. And until they figure out how to do that, we're going to have repetition of this over and over again. So from an advertising, Tim will talk more specifically about the traditional advertising, but from the social advertising of this, none of it is going to work until we address those infrastructure issues.
That's really fantastic insight, Mindy. I'm just going to ask Umar to come in there because, you're talking about branding. You're talking about, the brand health. One of the things that Umar's done for his private hire company is to really keep ahead in terms of the branding, the user experience, and, of course, the identity in using the apps for technology. So, with Umar's company, for example, here in Essex, he created an app back in 2010. And his brand identity, which was expensive, but the right thing to do, has helped him maintain the health as well as his drivers internally. But I'm just going to pass Umar now to talk a little bit about his branding and how the app has helped his business. And perhaps, you're more than welcome to ask Umar a couple of questions, Mindy, about his personal branding and other aspects of his business. But let me just ask Umar to answer the question about the app, when it came into play, and how did it affect his business?
Okay, yeah. We launched an app in 2011. Our first app was, which was iPhone. Then we launched Android, I believe, 7 months later. App side of things, our business did grow since 2011 onwards. We were starting to get lots of customers using our app because they find it very easier to book a taxi via the app than instead of speaking to somebody on the phone. Technology-wise, we've always pushed our app forward, and we increased our downloads, we've increased our bookings. But overall, customers actually enjoy it. I mean, it's a very good technology for them. So when it comes to Uber, or when it comes to Uber in my local town, Chelmsford, when they look at Uber, when they look at Happy Cabs, they always look at, oh, they've got an app, Uber's got an app, right? The difference is, on a busy times, Uber charges surge. We don't charge no surcharges. So we have also gained business that way as well, because we are ahead from last year. We are ahead about 47% on our bookings and on our turnover. So we're not doing too bad as a company, depending on how we're doing our brand marketing. We went through a big rebrand 2 years ago. We changed our logo. We changed the way we work with suppliers and consumers, and our business has been up in growth. And we've recently, January 2017, we went into another town to open a taxi company, and a lot of people recognized us from 20 miles away, where our current company is based. So they do trust us in technology, what we got, the marketing we do, and the customer promises and customer satisfaction.
Can I jump in here for something real quick?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to stop and step back for a second and ask themselves, especially people like Umar. Let's hope there are other cab companies watching this right now, or they will watch this later. You need to ask yourself exactly why did Uber come into existence? Why? From a consumer standpoint, cabbies charge too much. Here in the U.S., Mindy, back me up on this if I'm right or if I'm wrong. You were leery to take a cab, not because of a safety issue, but because if you were going to go from point A to point B, they would take you from point A to A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. They would never take you in the straightest route. So all of this talk about why is Uber's 40,000 people and they have 13,000 people who aren't licensed and they're not carrying the right insurance. Stop it. That's not the point. You need to ask yourself, why did Uber come into existence in the first place? It's because cabs had a bad reputation. This is a golden moment for any cab company to basically get a reset. This could be the best thing ever for a cab company, to reset yourselves and say, you know what? All of our drivers have the knowledge training. They're insured, they're licensed. We've never had an issue about crime. We've never done this. We've never done that. We don't charge a surcharge. We don't do this is the moment. So all of this bickering about, 13,000 of the 40,000 Uber drivers, they're not, that is irrelevant. That is irrelevant. From a consumer standpoint, guess what? They don't know and they don't care. All they know and all they care about is, can I get from point A to point B? That's it. And who's going to charge me the least? That's it. Now, some of the comments I saw on the Sun last night were, fine. If Sadiq Khan is going to do this, then you need to have the night tubes running 24/7. Then you better have a better tube schedule. Okay, that's not your problem. Don't worry about that. You need to focus on what you can focus on. You know what? Our drivers are certified. They do this, they do that. All of those things that you normally tell people anyway. Umar, this is why you have happy cabs. All of your drivers, you're probably proud of all your drivers. You probably never had an issue with somebody assaulting a customer, et cetera, et cetera. All of these problems that Uber's had. Guess what? That's Uber's problem. That's not your problem. That's Uber's problem. Don't focus on them. Focus on you. So this is a great moment for you as a cab owner to really tout what you do better than everybody else. Whatever that thing is, that should be the focus of everything going forward. Let the customer figure out how they're going to get from point A to point B. If they want to use you, great. Give them a reason to do it.
Tim, can I jump in? Tim and I do this often. We have competing thoughts. I agree with everything that Tim said, with the one caveat is that across the world, I have been reluctant to use Uber because of the safety issues. I don't know if they're licensed. I don't know if if the technology knows where the car is being driven through GPS. I don't have all of that information. So I'm a late adapter, if you will. And so from the Uber side of things, they need to fix those things, because that's what's the original question is it the end for Uber? If they don't fix those things, that public and reputation management, it could be the end of Uber in areas. It is an opportunity, as Tim alluded to, for every other licensed company that's out there to take what Uber has screwed up and really boost their services based on the messaging that they choose to use at this point. And that's Tim's area of expertise right there, is how do you take what's going on in the news? It comes back to Tylenol. If they had never come back with the tamper-resistant packaging, Tylenol would have ceased to exist. Another company would have eventually done it, and they would be the ones making bank today.
Yeah, this has got some really, really great content going in here. I'm just going to say hi and thank you, Mindy. That was fantastic. And Tim, that was brilliant. Just going to answer a couple of questions, then we'll go back into the conversation. If you're viewing wherever you are around the world, I'm Bradley Chapman. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to come online. I'm with Umar Hussain, founder of happycabs.com in Essex, a private hire operator, and online the expert panel at the moment is Tim Burt, former CBS radio executive, advertising executive from the United States. He's completed something like 30,000 adverts around the world and worked for governments. Equally, Mindy Hart from a PR point of view and social media point of view. Sorry, Mindy. Again, from America, is an expert on social media PR and brand identity, brand health. Now, the subject today, is it the end for Uber? So please do get involved. Let's just say thanks to Bayo Ogatonye, who's saying flexibility is the key. Thank you very much indeed. Joe Masafia is absolutely charged, and his threads are fairly extensive and fairly long, which is great. Joey, for us to show comments on the screen, I need one sentence which I can show you on the screen. If we have a very long one on the thread, which is great, keep writing. But when you every now and again put just a one sentence thread, I can add you to the screen. So Joe Masafia, great conversation. And I'm going to read Joe Masafia. He's saying that Daniels at TfL came out with the nonsense story that they had on-off insurance cover, meaning they could turn it on if and when they needed it. We all need insurance brokers, and underwriters were approached. They all basically said that this was absolute rubbish and not something exists. So I think the conversation is flowing. Bayo is saying that flexibility is the key. Nasser Habib is saying, if I'm in West London, I'm not going to call Happy Cabs, but if their drivers are would. Well, here's the thing, and this is something I want to go into. Somebody just made a comment about why are private hire drivers, there we go. It's Nasser. He said, why don't other cab companies link together to grow their business? Now, I'm going to pass across to Umar. He is massive in collaboration. So if you are a taxi company listening right now, he collaborates with a number of taxi firms in Essex and in London. He's also a shareholder of a really fantastic app, and it's doing exactly that. So I'm going to ask Umar to answer your question, Nasser. And this is something interesting, Tim and Mindy, for you to understand, that there are cross-collaboration opportunity. So Umar, please answer Nasser's question. How are cab companies collaborating with each other so that if you are in West London, you can use somebody in Essex, and how that works? Because if you think about it, a cab company in London may take a passenger out to Essex. When they come back to London, they may not have POB. They may not have a passenger on board. So how does this work? Let me pass you Mr. Umar Hussain 1 second, because petrol is expensive. Mileage on cars are expensive. So how do they collaborate? This is quite exciting. Let me pass you to Umar.
Thank you, Nasser, for your question. Thank you for your comment. Firstly, I would say a lot of cab companies in London have actually soft merged with other cab companies. And also we are going through a soft merge process at this minute. basically what happens is you're connecting with all the cab companies around the country, and you're basically what happens is, for example, I mean, there are apps out there where you can open up an app and you can see the taxis everywhere in the country. A lot of cab companies are soft merging with each other, and they're sharing jobs. When they can't cover it, they move on to the next company. They cover it on behalf of them. I'm also a shareholder in Cab Guru, which is a national app that does exactly the same thing. It's it's an app where all the cab companies are linked together, right? So, for example, if I'm a customer in Chelmsford uses Cab Guru app to get from the station to their home. They can use the same app when they come out of Liverpool Street platform. They can use the same Cab Guru app, the local cab company near them, they can book it and live track them. So there's a lot of companies are now starting to do soft merger, and there's a lot of companies like Carhu, Minicabit, and other companies out there. They're also merging with local cab companies just to keep their customer acquisitions and customer base. That's it.
Again, I mean, absolutely fantastic. And Mindy and Tim, that's food for thought. What we're going to try and do is we're going to try and get to all of your comments. We're going to be broadcasting for approximately 2.5 to 3 hours because the amount of people that we've got coming online. So Amjal, Skandari saying, "Dear Bradley, please read my comments." I'll get to them, Amjal. I promise you, we'll try and answer everybody's question. We've got plenty of time. We will get them answered. And of course, this broadcast is open and unbiased. So we're not going to, there's no anger on this timeline, but we're going to have somebody coming on to talk about emotions in 1 second. And Joey Masafia, thank you, Joey. Your drivers are licensed to pick up at Liverpool Street. And Amjit Skandar saying, please read the post, which I'm doing now. Joey saying, Umar, what about cross-border licensing? We'll make a note of that, and we're going to come back to that. And equally, Nasser is saying that you rarely have dead miles with an Uber driver, and that is true. Of course it is, because Uber can switch on their app from their home in Wanstead, and while they're driving into London can pick up a job. So again, the technology plays a vital part of potentially keeping costs down, and that's where I think black cabs need to move forward with technology, just my humble opinion. But Amjal's point was, hello guys, no one will be unemployed because those customers using Uber, they will start using the local private hire companies, and 40,000 drivers will join the local company. Simply is that is because 4 million customers, they won't want to lose the business, so they'll go back to the original companies they work for, or indeed back to private hire. And that's true. And if Uber didn't exist, of course, you know, they will go back to their existing companies. But here's the thing, and I'm going to ask Robert J. Moore to join us in just 1 second. He's an emotions expert. Now, the emotions that are feeling here, and we've got to take an open opinion. You know, if you owned a private hire company, when Uber come in and they undercut the prices, yes, for the consumers, it was a great deal. But if you were a private hire taxi cab owner, as I say, and you went out of business, Addison Lee, for example, one of the largest fleets in London, went from 3,000 cars down to around 1,500 pretty much overnight. Now, I interviewed John, the managing director of Addison Lee, a few years ago when there was a high growth, and yes, they can be expensive. There's got to be a balance. Now, Mindy, just bear with me for 1 second. Mindy, I'm going to put you into the lobby, but don't move, please. I'm going to bring Robert J. Moore on for 5 minutes. So, Mindy, stand by. I'm going to bring Robert J. Moore in, then I'm going to pull you back on. Mindy, please bear with me. We're just going to bring Robert J. Moore now live into the broadcast. Robert J. Moore is coming to us live from Canada. Robert J. Moore is an emotions expert. He's a counsellor, an award-winning author. We've not got the best internet connection, but we're going to ask Robert to have his thoughts about the emotions that's running through the minds of the consumers, the business owners of private hire firms, the black cab owners with their livelihoods being taken, the excitement about Uber. Now, technology has changed things and brought some really fantastic, tech skills, some tech gadgetry into the marketplace. I'm now going to pass the microphone back to Umar Hussain. to Robert J. Moore and to Timber to carry on the discussion. I now need to check the live comments to make notes for the next stage of our journey. So, Robert J. Moore from Canada, thank you for joining us. Please do introduce yourself and let's share your thoughts on emotions. And then, Tim, you've got the control of the con from this point, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, yeah.
All right. Thanks for having me on the show. From what I've been reading and what I've been seeing and hearing is there's going to be a lot of emotions, a lot of conflict going on, obviously. All right. What are you seeing? Because you're out there right now. What kind of emotions are you seeing out there?
To be honest, at this minute, obviously, we are in Chelmsford. In Chelmsford, it hasn't really affected us that badly. But I do know, I understand in London, central London, I speak to a lot of taxi companies and a lot of cab drivers. They're having a lot of challenges at the moment because a lot of customers, they lost a lot of customers overnight. Some cab companies, I heard, they're closed down. There's still, I speak to a few cab company owners who have actually closed down over the last 3 years ago because they've had about 250 drivers. They dropped massively to zero, overnight. Because, one cab company owner was telling me that he had a fleet of 250 vehicles, owner-driver, and one morning woke up, 100 of his drivers went missing, just like that, without telling. So that's another thing you hear from. So, yeah, so it just depends. At the moment, where we are at this minute, Uber came about 8 months ago. At the weekend, they got about 40, 50 cars, but it hasn't really affected us as a business because we always marketing, we always pushing our app forward where the rank drivers have been affected because obviously after 11 o'clock at night when the prices go up, people use Uber, where us as a private hire company, we still got our client regular base. We haven't lost a lot, but we are still doing good as a company because we're implementing new technology. We're always marketing very good than any other competitors out there. So we are always looking into new stuff. So it's been okay for us so far.
I got to say there's 4 different ways of looking at the emotion on all this whole angle. I got to agree with Tim. When you use the regular taxi services, they usually go to A1, A2, A3. And I've noticed that too in Canada. So the Uber just goes directly right there and then they're flat fee, boom, go, right? And it's comfortable that way. And the thing is, so you got the 4 emotions. You got the emotions of the people using it, using the Uber or using taxi services. They want to feel that they're getting what they're deserving out there, right? They want to feel that they're not being rushed around getting extra money out of their pocket. They want to feel safe at the same time. You got the taxi drivers trying to make a living and the Uber drivers trying to make a living, but you got the conflict between them because one's taking over business from the other. So there's going to be an emotion there no matter what. And then you got the owners. The owners are trying to make a living too, but they're also trying to expand and give the value. But if you give them the value, right, the problem is with all the conflict, you have to be safe. And I'm reading online, there's a lot of unsafe stuff going on right now with both sides.
Yeah, and to talk about the emotions just a second, Robert. Last night, when I was looking at the various UK newspapers, the Sun, the Guardian, etc., the Daily Mail, there was an article that said, Uber's going to lose their license. They have 21 days to appeal. Basically, they're going to get kicked out. And then the story was how one of the cab companies slashed their fares in half. And the first comment on that story, I wish I screenshotted this. The first comment was, why haven't they done this already?
Yeah. I agree with that.
So I go back to my original point. Why did Uber come into existence in the first place? Because cabs were deemed too high, too expensive. They screw you in these what's known as dead miles. Somebody commented there, taking you roundabout ways to get you to point A, point B. This is the golden moment for cab companies, just like Umar's, to get a reset. How many businesses get a reset in life? Not many. And Uber is handing you one. So you better jump on this opportunity.
You know, I look at Uber actually in Canada. The taxi drivers out here basically do the same thing. They go to A1, A2, A3, a roundabout, right? So when you're looking at Uber out here, it gives other people a chance to get off their butt, find a job, make them feel like they're doing their own business, right? It makes them feel accountable, makes them feel like they're challenged to do something. And instead of going out there, put a resume where they may not get that job, they can actually do with the Uber and put all their stuff out here and make them feel accountable now. And they make their own hours, which is beautiful because a lot of people have to work different hours, which affects them emotionally too, with their family, with their businesses, with all the stuff that they're doing. But the thing is, with this Uber out here, I think it's very reliable out here. They're very safe. I see a lot of taxi drivers around town that are actually unsafe, and the way they're driving is like they kind of push me off the road. Which, I mean, I don't see any Uber drivers because I don't even see the Uber drivers. They don't have a taxi thing on top sitting there saying Uber. So when it comes down to the deep emotions of anybody losing their job because of Uber, well, Uber is a job that we do ourselves. And that's, I mean, I can't pick sides on that part of it because we choose to do Uber, but Uber is definitely something that has come out to help engage and empower other people to actually move forward in their own business, their own structure.
Yeah, Robert, we can't we can't by keeping the broadcast open. Uber has brought one amazing thing. I mean, we're going to talk more about emotions, and I want to ask your advice, and I'm going to speak from what I feel, but the different sort of emotions people are feeling. But Uber's brought this amazing technology. Now, one of the things I talk about all the time with my business coaching with clients is to start thinking that actually the world is smaller than you think. And I'm talking to loads of different potential clients and collaborators at the moment where we're waking up to the point that the world is smaller than you think. Now, that's what Uber's taught us from a technology point of view. But let me just explain and share my thoughts on the emotions. Now, there are a number of different emotions. From a consumer, they're getting a really great deal and a fair price. And in a global, a tight financial climate, austerity here in the UK, everybody wants to save money. So by saving money, they may not necessarily be thinking about the livelihood problems with other black cab companies and private hire companies. And yes, maybe those private hire companies have been maybe a little bit too expensive. Who knows? From the point of view of a private hire owner that may have lost his business, he's going to be upset. From a job opportunity point of view, in London, people can get a job, go and work for Uber and start straight away and go to work. From a black cab point of view, they go through 2 to 3 years of training to learn their knowledge, to earn their right, to have crafted their skill, to have known the streets and the landmarks and the points of interest in London. And it's a heritage. For somebody that's traveling in the transport, the public sector transport vehicles worldwide, they want a safe journey. So there's people that's been hurt, affected. There was a lady on TV last night that was molested and abused by an Uber driver. Now, I'm certain that this would go on in every single industry. So, Robert, we've got every single emotion going on here, from people wanting to save money, from companies going out of business, from employment opportunities, to people being happy with Uber, people being unhappy with Uber, depending on your point of view and the side of fence that you stand on. So it's a whole mixed bag of emotions. For me personally, of course, and been in business, I've had this happen to me. I've traded internationally and lost businesses. And I can tell you, when you lose a business and you're invested in that for 3, 4, 5 or 6 years, and you can lose that business overnight, it can kill your ability to become and maintain and stay as a human being. You can be on the floor, sick and gutted. You lose your home, your house, your whole livelihood changes. And inside you become so sad and sick that many do not get back up from that experience, let alone the ill health. On the other side, you've got job opportunities, job creation, and equal opportunity employment. So this is a mixed bag of emotions, Robert. So how do we consider the emotions for every one of these people and what they're thinking? What's your advice on that standpoint?
Well, first of all, I mean, being a life coach myself and owning the Better Way, as you know, I invented the EBO system, the emotions, behavior, and outcomes. The emotions we all have. All right. The behavior is how we digest it. So if we're looking at other people and we're looking at thousands and millions of other people being affected by this, we have to look how we feel, because we can't feel how they feel. So we have to feel how we feel. We have to try and adjust how we feel and prioritize what is really important here, because we can lose track of our emotions and it can really put out a different outcome than you really want. This is very high tense situation going on, and it said, like it said in the paper there, 21 days to figure out what's going on. Now, if they do end up losing it on the 30th, there's going to be a lot more emotions, a lot more aggressiveness. People may not know how to deal with their emotions, so they might just go aggressively on that, and that's called a defense mechanism because they don't know how to deal with it. Unscribed with their emotions, right? They're disconnected. So what the best thing is to do is everybody, and I advise everybody out there, try and sit down for 5 minutes a day and try and figure out how you feel. Because when you feel something, right, sometimes it'll come out your mouth without digesting it. So you want to digest those emotions and figure out why you're angry and make sure it's tangible. Because if it's not tangible, if it's really not affecting you in that way you're thinking, if it's just hearsay, or if it's just someone else saying stuff like, this person saying that person saying that, how's it really affecting us? You want to know the effect on yourself, and then you can get out of that. I mean, I've been in positions in my life where I never thought I can get out of, and I won't get in detail with that today. But as everybody wants to read my book, they can find out. You read my book there, Bradley, and
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, from rock bottom to success, and it shows that our emotions, we're affected by emotions, and what we need to do to get back up and find the strength to keep moving forward and change the way that our mind thinks. And emotions are pretty much based on, this is an important thing because you have to stay calm. I've experienced emotions. I mean, Joe Masafi is online. He's absolutely passionate for black cabs. Joey, are you a black cab driver in London? That seems to be the case. But when you're passionate about something, it's great to be passionate, but we've got to control that passion. When you're hurt and you're angry, it can make you say and do things that otherwise you wouldn't, not ordinarily do. So we're just going to come back to Umar and to Tim from an advertising point of view. How important is brand advertising and the message that you can convey for your company to be congruent with your values? Has Uber done that? And Umar, has Happy Cabs done that? Let's kick off with Umar talking about his Happy Cab brand. Then we'll pass to Tim to talk about branding in general, whether Uber's achieved that. Over to Umar.
I think advertising is very important for any kind of business, whether you're a taxi company or whether you're a sweet shop, corner shop. Advertising is very good. Obviously, what we've done a lot of marketing on advertising our business to gain more customers, and repeat customers as well. Because in taxi service, a lot of customers who use us, they all repeat, including app. We even got new customers joining every day, right? And they're still using us. They like us as a company because the way we work, the way we market, the way our standard of our cars are, and everything. So I would say it's very important. Also, we are an online booking computerized platform as well. So it's good for our corporate clients and personal clients, right? They get the same service, right? And they can also, we've also got a service where a customer can actually pay for the journey online by going onto our website. So they can choose from A to B where they're going. The system will give a quote, and they can book online by debit or credit card. Even families can now, on our app now, for example, I don't think Uber app does that, where basically, if I wanted to book a car in for my brother, young brother, for example, and I wanted to be kept up to date, if he's been picked up, dropped off, everything, I'll get the text message, same as he will get. So that's another thing what we offer. So a lot of ladies who go out at the weekend, they use our taxi services, and the parents book taxis for them. It's been very good for them. It's a very good response.
Fantastic. And Tim, what's your brief on Uber advertising? Have they been in line with the brand? Have they achieved what they needed to achieve? And what do they need to do now to bring themselves back? Robert, I'm going to drop you back into the waiting lobby, but I want you to stand by. I'm going to bring Mindy Hart back in. Robert, please wait in the lobby. We're going to bring you straight back on emotions. Robert J. Moore,
thanks,
thank
Robert.
you. Stand by. We're going to have Robert back in just 5 minutes. Stand by, Robert, if you've got time, please. Thank you. So, Tim, we're just bringing Mindy Hart back in. Robert's waiting in the lobby. We'll have him back on regards to emotions. So let's go. Uber, what are they doing? Where do they need to go? What's the suggestions for change? Let's just put you on the spot there, Tim.
Well, okay, I'm going to go back to, remember I asked, how did Uber come into existence in the first place, right? And we all have those answers in our heads, why Uber exists. When's the last time you saw a commercial for Uber?
Me personally, not purely, not unless it's through social media or something, not a pure advert, no.
Okay, so how did Uber become Uber?
I would basically say advertisement in London, they done massively when they first come into the UK.
Okay. So now, hold on a second, Umar, because that's very interesting. Because here in the U.S., they did not. You know what Uber did here in the U.S.? They relied on social media and word of mouth. It was, I'll take an Uber. I remember hearing that for the first time, going, "What the hell's an Uber? What is that?" Oh, it's like a cab, but it's not a cab. It's like you're getting a ride from a friend who's not a friend, but you're going to pay them like a cabbie, and they're going to take you wherever you want to go because they have the GPS and blah, blah, blah. Cool. Awesome. Love it. And the next thing you know, Uber's on fire. Just exploded everywhere. Now, I have written down 6 words on this Post-it note, which I'm not going to show you, that if you're a cab company, this could be the key to basically giving the Uber the knockout punch. What's this worth to you? No, I'm not going to blackmail anybody. I'm just saying.
It could be the end of Uber.
No, well, it's not the end. See, here's the thing. Uber didn't have to advertise here in the US. Now the UK, the rest of Europe, Australia, the Pacific Rim, probably, because I think about the Pacific Rim, they're going against the tuk-tuks and all that other stuff. So totally different market. Mexico, South America, I have no idea what Uber's doing down there. Uber has an image problem, as Mindy alluded to earlier. Uber has a massive image problem. Think about Travis Kalanick, their CEO who resigned after, I don't know if you're familiar with this story. You probably are, Umar. Are you familiar with the story about the CEO?
Yes, behind the back of the cab, right?
Yeah, he was in the cab, and the Uber driver was complaining that Uber's practices are basically bankrupting this poor guy. And Travis Kalanick, the CEO at the time, who was, I think, a little drunk, just went off on this guy and got out of the cab, and it was a huge, ugly scene. And of course, the driver recorded it, and then the CEO had to resign. So back to Mindy's point, Uber has a massive, massive image problem that only they can fix. Nobody else can be able to fix it for them.
Yeah.
Now you can help. Now the cab industry, the black cab industry in London, you have 2 options here. You can either A, knock them out, or B, help them get back on their feet. Now, and I understand that there's, you got the union involved and the TFLs involved, the mayor. This isn't a, oh, gee, do we change something on our menu at our restaurant? No, this is a massive, massive, massive issue. I understand that. The question is, what are you going to do, Umar, as a cab company owner? What are you going to do? Which route are you going to take? Pardon the pun. Are you going to knock them out, or are you going to try to help them get back on their feet? From a consumer standpoint, they're going, please keep Uber. Please, I hope Uber stays in London. Please. From your perspective, you're going, get them out of town. We hate them for XYZ reason. I understand that. So this is a golden opportunity for you, Umar, and all of your other cabbie friends to really send a big message to Uber. I mean, if Uber loses London, that's big. That's really big. I mean, that would be like Uber getting kicked out of LA.
Tim, can I jump in for a second?
Sure, of course.
So there's an Uber driver here in the Kansas City area that doesn't want to come on camera. So he sent me some information. In the 13 months that he was an Uber driver, he did over 3,000 rides in his personal vehicle. There were only 2 incidents out of those 3,000 rides that had any safety concerns for him as a driver. So that's not a bad statistic. Nothing that ever turned violent, but he was concerned. 71,000 miles is what he put on his personal vehicle for the privilege of driving people around, plus the extra insurance that he has to carry, the maintenance schedule he has to have, that normally a company would be absorbing those costs. But as an independent contractor, he did. But what was interesting is that over the course of that 13 months, his rides started dropping, and it was at the end was literally a 25% reduction in rides. Part of the reason for that was that Uber here in the States doesn't do any marketing. It's all word of mouth. They do marketing to recruit drivers, but not to recruit the riders. And that is out of balance, out of whack significantly. The other thing that's interesting is that the consumers want Uber. And so any cab company around the globe would be wanting to know why the consumer likes Uber. To quote Tim here, you have to get in the mind of your customer. And that's really an important thing for any competing company at this point. There's been some comments about Uber not playing by the rules. Well, in the business world, we call not playing by the rules something that leads to innovation and market disruption. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing that they wanted to push the boundaries of what the current rules were, except that every company has to adhere to the local and national laws. And so pushing the boundaries is one thing. Breaking all of the rules and throwing the rule book out is an entirely different thing. And that is where that reputation management comes in, because right now Uber has a reputation in some parts of the world, maybe even all of the world, as being someone who threw out the rule book. So everything comes back, everything that Tim and I have commented here, if you combined all of those, Tim's absolutely right. Knockout punch or help them, give them a hand up. Those are really the only 2 choices. If you choose to give them the hand up, then you have to figure out how to help them put some of those rules back in place and start adhering to them so that they can join the party. Otherwise, the only choice that you have is to knock them out.
Well, the when I say give them a hand up, it's almost the taxi industry in London will help Uber get back on their feet if they're allowed by not changing their ways. That's how you're going to help Uber get back on their feet. Now you can knock them out by getting down in the pit with them. That's what you're going to have to do. I mean, that's what they did. They went lowest common denominator and they pulled the rug out from everybody's feet. And now, Uber is not a service. Uber is a verb.
Correct.
Oh, it's Uber,
but you could knock them out by just finding out what's in the customer's head, what they want, and start delivering it and doing an innovation within Black Cabbies or Happy Cabs. If you do those internal innovations to take the best of what people wanted out of Uber with the current safety standards and all of those legal training requirements that they have in London, a current company in London could really make Uber be inconsequential if they figure out what that customer desire is that Uber delivered that they might not be currently.
Yeah, Uber, just like Mindy said, Uber has a reputation and an image problem depending on what part of the world you're in. I'm sure there are some cities where there are no Uber problems, but the bigger the city, the more opportunities you have, and they if they don't do the background checks or the whatever. I mean, look at what happened in Austin, Texas. I don't know if you heard about this. The Uber got kicked out of Austin.
We've got someone coming on actually, Tim, from Texas a little bit later. A guy called Richard Trevino. From Texas, to talk about that. So go on, carry on.
But they got kicked out of Austin, and so then a company sprang up that I did not get a chance to research this, but they were called, I think it's called My Austin Rides or something like that. and they're offering rides for basically 99 cents. I'm thinking, well, how does that work? I mean, does everybody drive a Prius, or is this a bicycle, or what is that? I don't know, but hey, somebody popped up to try to help Uber, to knock Uber out. Well, the next thing you know, back in, I believe it was June, Uber's back in Austin. Okay, fine, whatever. This is a golden chance for Umar, you and your company, and all the other black cab companies in London to knock them out. The question is, how are you going to do it?
That's a passionate one, and that's very thought-provoking. Tim, I'm just going to drop you down into the lobby for 1 second. Grab a breath, grab some water, just stand by. I'm going to have you back up in 5 minutes. I'm going to ask Robert. Hang on, I pressed the wrong one. Sorry, Robert. We're going to get back up to the broadcast. Hold on, Tim. Wrong button. Technical gremlins in the machine. Just stand by, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bring. Oh, I pressed the wrong button again. Hang on 1 second.
Hey,
I've got to keep
Bradley,
up.
I'm going to have to.
Hang on, sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. Sending you dizzy. Right, let's get Robert up there. Okay, Tim, just stand by for 1 second, please. Robert's back online now. Yeah, Mindy.
I'm going to have to say goodbye for today, and thank you for having me on.
Beautiful. It's a pleasure. Mindy Hart has joined us from the States. Mindy is a PR specialist. Mindy, please just give us a shout out for your website before you jump off for your Sunday. Just a bit of self-promotion there. Thanks for coming on. Give us your website, Mindy, where we can connect with you.
EssentialFoundationsForBusiness.com is the consulting website, and feel free to join me there. But definitely find me on Facebook, because that's where I live.
Absolutely. Mindy, you've been a great contributor to today's debate about Uber. Will Uber survive? What's the future? Thank you very much for your contribution. Looking very much forward to working with you again on behalf of myself and behalf of Umar. Just like to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mindy, for having you today. Thank you.
And we look forward to having you again. God bless, and have a lovely Sunday afternoon, Mindy. Thanks for your contribution. Cheers now.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so Robert, of course, we've got some emotions here. Nasser Habib is saying that Addison Lee pays taxes in the UK. Does Uber? Is it fair? So we're going to answer that question now. And it's my belief, I think Umar can contribute to this as well, that Uber are not paying as many taxes in the UK. I think there's a question on VAT, which of course, is 20% as well. So there's a big emotion about, are they paying taxes in the UK and VAT? Now, there's an emotion around one person having an unfair advantage in business than another. And there's a difference between having a playing field that you need to manipulate and use to make it the best playing field that you can. But if they are paying less taxes, then, of course, it makes it more difficult for the people that are. Robert, what do you think the emotions are on that?
Well, I want to apologize for the bad connection here. I'm like way out in the bush here, out the cottage with the family.
That's okay. The voice is coming across absolutely fine, Robert.
Okay, that's beautiful. When you're looking at the emotion of that, it would be like favoritism. People would look at that as favoritism. If they're paying less wages or less taxes than the others, how they being favoritized that way, right? It would definitely put a conflict out there with the other companies.
Yes, it will. Yeah, I mean, obviously, all the UK taxi companies, as far as I know, they all pay VAT, they all pay their corporation taxes, everything. When it comes to Addison Lee, even they are a UK-based company. They've got over 2,000 vehicles, and they pay VAT and taxes as well. So when it comes to Uber, when they don't pay that and they've been on the press on it, so that could be another reason there might be problems in London where the mayor wants them out because they're losing the money on the VAT and taxes. And yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a valid point. I mean, Joe Masafia is just saying thanks to him, but that's absolutely valid. So, I mean, Uber, the Mayor of London, we are in a time of austerity. And if Uber aren't contributing to taxes, then if the mayor of London thinks, well, actually, our taxes are a much lower percent than it would be if it was from normal taxing, London needs that money. Every country, every city, every government, every local council needs to maximize the pennies because it's cuts globally. So maybe that's a valid point. Joey Masafia is saying that Uber has paid the same amount of tax as 4 black cab drivers each year that they've been in London. So Joey, let me just clarify. You're saying that Uber has not contributed to tax, and where do you get the source of that information? Is there somewhere we can get that from? He's come back saying that all income leave the UK and is paid to Uber BV in Holland, then off to the Cayman Islands. Then they pay the drivers their commissions, therefore they pay 0 VAT. That's an interesting comment. So we're now talking about the emotion of local government and local people, where Uber is providing a discount and a saving by way of losing revenue that they've built on the stock market to grow their business. So let's talk about the business model. Although we're saving money, is the business model working? Has it worked? Well, of course, with anything that you give a discount in the world, you can buy people, because there's one thing people are weak at the knees at, is getting something for nothing, getting something for a heavy discount. And of course, in tough austerity times, we're going to save money. So Robert, what's the emotion now? I mean, if Joey's saying that they're paying 0 VAT, it's an unfair advantage. So what do you think companies feel like? And there's lots of large American companies, forgive me, like Costa Coffee and Starbucks, that are doing the same thing, where there's no tax being paid in the UK. So it's a valid point, but from the point of view of the playing field, it's an unfair advantage. 20% VAT. How do we deal with those emotions, Robert?
Well, the way I see it, there's 3 different ways of looking at it. One, it could hurt your branding. If you're not paying, and here's London needs help with the roads and helps work with all the different things in the city. How are they going to get that money if you're not actually paying that tax, right? That's where that goes to in Canada, right? So when you're looking at the other way, you're looking at, okay, well, people just want to ride. They don't really care about that, so they just jump in and go because of their lower cost, right? That's one way of looking at it too in Canada. I can only speak for Canada on that part. But when you're looking at, I'm out there and I'm seeing all the conflict politically like that, there's got to be something deeper going on. Because if they're not paying the taxes, and where are they getting their money from, they have to hire our taxes up somewhere, our housing or whatever it may be, in order to pay for them roads.
Yeah, I mean that makes absolute sense. I mean, Tim, from an advertising, a media, perspective. When you've got a lot of money, which you acquire through the stock market, you build up a £70 billion fund and you lose 2 billion. I think last year Uber lost £2 billion to make their cut by their customers. Of course, Uber's idea is that they were going to buy their business. They're buying their business with people going weak at the knees, they're getting a cheap price. And now, of course, there would have been a turning point in Uber where their prices would have gone up once they'd annihilated all the competition. But, listen, it's nothing that big companies around the world haven't done before. The mobile phone companies did it. The mobile phone companies, there used to be lots of small mobile phone shops. They bought them all out. There are no independent mobile phone salespeople now. It's O2, it's Orange, it's EE, it's Verizon Wireless. The big boys bought every single thing out. And what they did, they bought everyone's contracts. They lost money for the first 2 or 3 years to acquire the customer, then make the profitability back over an average customer long period of 4 to 7 years. So this is a global scale where big business is using big money to buy out the customers of the world, whether it be product or service led. Now, I'm not against that because I think it's the way the world's going. But hey, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and in between, we've got to keep fighting. I'm sitting next to a man now who runs his business, who works lengthy hours, who's built his business, who's fought through the Uber challenges. He's built his apps, he's built his company, he's built his programs, and he's increased the quality of his business, and he's kept powering through. He's had the strength to do that. Not everybody has. So, this is a big thing where big business are buying customers. So what's your thoughts on that, Tim?
Has anybody on this call or anybody watching ever bought anything from Amazon?
Yeah, must be. Absolutely sure. No, I have.
I have. When
you buy something from Amazon, do you think, gosh, I really am glad to be contributing to Jeff Bezos' bank account because he's only worth like $200 gajillion million. No. You know what you think? I got it on Amazon and it's cheap and it's going to be here in 2 days and it's awesome. Now, from the business side of things, yes, Amazon and Walmart was accused of this back in the 80s, 90s. Walmart was running out of town, running the small business owners, just running them over like a steamroller. And Main Street has disappeared. The high street has disappeared. It's all gone to Walmart. Well, guess what? Uber has that's what Uber, Lyft, all of these rideshare services. That's what they've done. I am not taking a side here. Understand that. I am not taking a side. What I'm saying is if I'm being contracted by the black cab companies like Umar's to help deliver the knockout punch to Uber, okay, well, what has Uber done? Well, we know what Uber's done. We talk about the sexual assaults. You talk about the uninsured drivers and all of the bad things. That's all that's going to come up. Never mind. They might have a 99.992% fantastic rating. It's those very few things, and really very few things on the grand scheme of scale here that have given Uber a bad name. So what is Uber? What is Uber? What is Uber? Okay, Uber from the mind of the consumer is cheap. It's a quick, fast, cheap way to get from point A to point B. Stop. Yeah, they don't know and they don't care about the business side. Most of them don't know and don't care about the business side. What are you going to do for me? So from the advertising side, if you own a black cab company, Umar, this is directly to you and all your black cab company friends. What are you going to do for me? If Sadiq Khan does not, and the TFL does not renew the Uber license, what are you going to do for me? Because remember, I mentioned that comment earlier. When the one cab company slashed their fares in half overnight, and somebody commented, well, why didn't they do this earlier? What are you going to do for me?
That's it. Yeah, true. I would say if they actually, it depends if they come out of the UK in next, I believe, 21 days, you know. But I would say personally that the taxi fares are expensive in a way after a certain time of the night. And that's where Uber is winning on cheaper fares. Sure. But I would say, personally, I think there needs to be a pricing structure looked at across the region, across the UK, depending on the demand and everything. Because if you really look in the UK, a lot of drivers basically are self-employed. You know, so they have to look at their livelihood as well too.
Right, they're independent contractors. The advertising here for Uber has been, Joey says what our American friend is forgetting: Amazon aren't raping women, causing untold accidents on roads of London. Right, I understand that. That's not my point. My point is nobody cares about the business process here. All they care is about what are you going to do for me. I understand that. But Umar, to your point about the pricing,
let me just interject just very quickly. Yeah, Joey's from Loughton in Essex. Somebody I've known in the past. He's very, very passionate about black cabs. Yeah, I mean, Joey, it is true. There are issues with Uber. I mean, we know that, and there's been reports. But I think we've got to say, and listen, my family are black cab drivers, taxi drivers. I have clients that are private hire owners and Uber drivers. So on a balance view, not all the 40,000 Uber drivers, are bad people that are just out trying to make a living. However, yes, it has come at a sacrifice for other black cab owners and drivers. And yes, you can understand the emotion that people are feeling that have gone through 2 or 3 years of training to earn their badge. And I know what that's like. I've had friends that's passed out, that they're knocked back when they're on their 21s and knocked back when they've been on their 14s and knocked back 3 times on their 7s before they've gone back up in front of the board. And the board really will treat people harshly to make sure you study and you become an expert in the field. So from a black cab driver's point of view, you've got to understand this emotion. And yeah, of course, Amazon, to the point that Tim's making is you can go online to Amazon and save 10, 20, 30 thousands of pounds on a purchase. You don't really care or know the knock-on impact. So he's just using that, as a metaphor for you to sort of understand. But yes, a black cab driver, 3 years, you can get into a black cab and you can say, listen, buddy, can you take me to the Arabian Club? Can you take me to the Directors Institute? And they'll know exactly where to take you. If you can say, can you take me to so-and-so castle, so-and-so cathedral? They know the points. They've been trained to know the points, whereas an Uber driver has got to tap it into a sat-nav. But I guess the question's got to be, do the black cab drivers and the way that they're training people have to consider the way that they're changing, or hanging on to tradition for so long and the values they've got? Is there a balance that could change with black cab drivers now? I know it's a tradition. I know when people come to London, they want to see black cabs. It's the same as going to New York. When you go to New York, you want to see the yellow taxis that you see on the films and the movies. It's part of their heritage. It's part of their breeding. And Uber cars are unidentifiable. They're grey, they're white, they're green, they're red. They've just got an Uber black sticker in the back window. So there is heritage. There is tradition, there is training, and there's fathers and sons that have been cabbies, and knowledge has been passed on, and generations of people working in public transport, but the point being is that they have had some issues, and those issues have been large enough for Transport for London and Sadiq Khan, the mayor, to say that we are not reissuing the license. And of course, with regards to the London license, what was actually said was London Mayor Sadiq Khan says that anger from customers and drivers over Uber losing its license should be directed at the company. So the anger shouldn't be directed at the drivers, bless them, because there's plenty of decent drivers out there. It should be addressed to the company for their procedures, which perhaps has allowed some of these incidents to happen, but that hasn't happened with the 40,000 drivers. They have been very, very clever with technology. They've got the money to do so, and they've capitalized on that, but it's come at the price and the pain and the emotional expense of black cab drivers, private hire license drivers. And yes, it's an emotional situation. Adil Chug Tai is saying, I've seen a black cab drivers use a sat-nav if they know the way. Why are they using it? I'm sure every now and again new landmarks come up all the time. And I had the same experience in London a few weeks ago. I said, hello, mate, can you take me to so-and-so, so-and-so? I said, where's that, mate? I said, it's just off the Strand. He said, I don't know that one. And he also had to take to the Strand and try and find it. But of course, you're not going to always be able to keep up with every change in the road. And this has now been changed into a one-way system. It's a big city. But yes, they have learnt their trade. And Joe Masafia is saying, yes, exactly. So the points being raised are valid points. Let's keep this conversation going. I'd love to hear from some Uber drivers. I'd love to hear what Uber drivers are feeling. Not everyone's, a bad reflection on them as an individual. There are challenges. There are problems with the VAT and the field not being balanced. Online at the moment, we have Mr. Robert J. Moore from Canada, who's an emotions expert and an author of the book called Rock Bottom Success and the Better Way programs. Equally, we have Mr. Tim Burt online, who is a former CBS advertising executive and produced something like 30,000 commercials worldwide. Please do ask your questions if you want to answer something on an emotional basis, or you want to answer something to Tim with regards to information on company and advertising. Tim has worked with governments all over the world. Now, Nasir Habib is saying that Uber are apparently still losing money, so no tax due as they set it off on debt. Absolutely 100% true, Nasir. Their model is like any customer acquisition model. They go out to the market, and what they do is they forecast and project to acquire X amount of customers across the world. They program that they're going to lose money for a certain period of time to take the competition out, then eventually those prices will increase. So, of course, one could say that the business model is unfair for the smaller man that might be getting crushed, but for the bigger man, for the big organizations that have the money, that's how they acquire business. And every single utility company, mobile phone company have all acquired customers, and especially broadband. Broadband's another thing. All the broadband companies got sold out and all the customers were acquired so that they make their money back over a period of time. Now, Wakas Hussain, he's just made a comment, and he's saying Uber will always Just 1 second. I just lost that comment. It's just come off my screen. He's saying that, just bear me, Wackus, just 1 second. Let me just scroll down.
Yeah, I was going to comment on him because he actually kind of was reading my mind, and I was going to ask Umar, there's a big push right now in the U.S. for autonomous cars, self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's complaining and bitching about Uber right now. Okay, because that's the flavor of the day. What happens when autonomous cars in the next, I don't know, 7 years, 5 years become standard? Then what?
It could actually affect our trade, yeah. I mean, because I think in Milton Keynes, they've got driverless pods now, I believe, in the city of Milton Keynes. But, yeah, driverless cars, this could affect the industry at the same time, I would say, within next maybe 5 years or a few years, couple of years.
Yeah, again, and also again, I mean, if I may, you know, this now is where we spin, you know, our conversation into technology, and let's just think about this as well. That, you know, the way that technology is going, and the way that it's happening, all the films that we've seen, you know, over the last 5 or 10 years that showed a futuristic view is happening. You've only got to go back to what was the film with Bruce Willis? Was it Bruce Willis or Schwarzenegger, where he was in the back of this Johnny Cab, was being driven? Hello, I'm your Johnny Cab. You know, it was being driven automatically. Technology now in the sector is moving forward so far. And I know and understand that people get stuck behind technology, because a lot of the clients that I work with, when I go in to see them, you know, they don't have technology and they've not kept up with technology. In fact, in many cases, they fear technology so much that they didn't embrace it. And as a result, their business starts to decline. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, and viewers, you know, I don't know what you think about this, and panel, I don't know what you think about this, but technology is absolutely the most important part of businesses moving forward in and towards and beyond 2020.
You either adapt or you die.
Adapt or die. Tim Burt saying, and Joey saying, Wackus is absolutely right. Uber are so concerned about their drivers, yet they've invested $300 million on autonomous vehicles. Again, another great comment, Joey. Just going to read a couple more comments there now as well. So Nasir Habibi saying, I'm an Uber driver, but I'm happy with the situation, as fares need to be in line with our cost of living. Fuel prices going up, car costs going up. So what are you saying, Nasir? Are you saying you're happy with your wages, or would you like Uber to increase, you know, your wages, your pricing? Because as I understand it, Uber drivers are busy, but what they're not taking into account is if they've got to buy their own car, that car might cost, say, 20 grand today, and it depreciates over 5 years. It's only then worth 10 grand. You've got the depreciation of the car. You've got the personal taxes, the MOTs, the management of the car, a car that's done possibly 200,000 miles. That's nearly worthless to take into account. And people don't always think about this when they start with Uber. What's my car going to be worth, you know, in 5 years' time? Well, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to lose 2 to 3 grand a year when you put your car through auction in 5 years' time. That the amount of money that you've got left over may not mean you can afford to buy another new car. Adil Chugatai is saying that last year he lost his company. I needed to work. I started working for Uber. I made a decent wage and have a great time doing it, and I enjoy every day of it. That's absolutely beautiful to hear, Adil. And as we've said, not every one of the 40,000 drivers, you know, for Uber are part of this bad nest. And I've experienced in business before, when I've been consulting for a company where 2-3 people in a business of 500 brought a company down, actually, and reflected really badly on me as an individual. So yes, you can have 2 or 3 bad eggs, and you know, it can resonate through the company. Let's move on to technology. Let's ask the Uber drivers, if they're online, to share their thoughts on technology. You know, Wackus Hussain is saying Uber will always lose money. Their business model is based on removing the labor, which is the driver, and put automated vehicles, which is a great comment, which we've just covered. I'm just going to scroll down for more comments now.
Hey, Bradley, I have to jump off here, but Robert
absolutely.
and Umar, it was great being on with you this morning, and I'll watch more later.
Hey, before you take off, Tim.
Yeah.
Before you take off, Tim, I just want to talk a little bit about what you were saying earlier, because you were asking, if Uber goes out, you're asking Umar, what would he do to provide service to you? More or less capping things, but how's that really going to hit them, all the other companies? Because that's going to be emotional finance, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you broke up there just a little bit. Was there a question in there? I'm sorry.
I said that's definitely going to be a finance that's going to hit emotionally to people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, I'm not for or against either side. I'm just saying it's a very unique situation. And ultimately, the market is going to decide. And when you have TFL saying, no, we're not going to renew your license, well, consumers are going to panic. And Robert, that's where you come in. and how are they going to deal with that?
That's the biggest thing. If they actually cap it, right, it's going to hurt all over. But it's going to benefit the community. And the community wants to feel benefited in order to use a service.
Sure.
So thanks for being on, Tim.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Tim, thanks for joining us. Tim Burt, former CBS advertising executive from you're Missouri, aren't you, Tim? Missouri, St. Louis, yeah?
Yeah, St. Louis, yes.
St. Louis. So thank you very much indeed for joining us and passing your opinions and sharing with us today. Have a fabulous Sunday. And Tim, just if you have a shout out, please let everyone know where they can find you, websites, etc. Thank you.
Yeah, timburtmedia.com, TIMBURT media.com. And like Mindy said earlier, I'm on Facebook all over the place. So I'm not hard to find, but timburtmedia.com. Yeah, there's my correct spelling down at the bottom. But thanks, Bradley. We'll chat soon. Umar, talk soon. And Robert, it's great meeting you.
Yeah,
thank you. Oh, what have I got? Did I spell your name wrong there on the title, Tim? If I did, I apologize. Cool. Listen, Tim, have a fabulous day. Great speaking to you. Thanks for connecting. Thanks for coming on from the United States. God bless you. Have a brilliant day, brother. Thank you.
You too. See ya.
Bless you. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
So we're back now. We're back now, and we're moving into the next stage of our broadcast, the final back end stages. Now we're expecting a couple more people to come online. So we've got Robert J. Moore, emotion specialist online from Canada. Robert is the author of a book which is called From Rock Bottom to Success, and he operates a program called The Better Way. Just going back there, Nasir Habibi saying everything is great when you start to try doing it for years and seeing the increased costs involved in driving. He's also saying that new taxi drivers have nothing to complain about, as there are now those who have been in the trade for years, that service levels will fall in the future. Joey, thank you. My sister's absolutely fine. I'm now going to ask Robert to interview Umar and ask him a few questions about his emotions and how he's handled his business. In the last few years, Robert is now rubbing his hands together because Umar is a wonderful guy. He really is. To the people that know him, is an amazing man. And from a point of view of somebody who owns a private hire company, that has, fought through the challenges, the emotions of Uber and what's happening with Uber. He's now in a position where he's growing his business. But listen, Robert, let's ask Umar a few questions about his business, how he's felt about the business, and how he's managed to stay on top and with a smile and keep moving forward. Over to you, Robert.
Afternoon, Robert.
All right. Hey, there's a few things that really have been alluded to in the whole conversation here. Is I want to know how you would be affected, because the people below you that you hire to actually work on the streets or drive people around safely, if something happened like happened to Uber out there, the rape and everything else, how would that affect you personally?
I think it would be very bad, but I mean, what happens is the taxi drivers we've got, they're regulated by the local council. So if there is any assault or rape or anything like that, it normally gets dealt with immediately, effect. But I mean, the last time I heard in Chelmsford, no cabbie driver has actually assaulted anybody or raped anybody. Obviously, because we are all regulated by the local council. But normally, when it comes to Uber, obviously the driver checks are not done correctly, the medicals are not done correctly, and when it comes to all this, that's why their corporate responsibility is going out of hand. Where we, as a local taxi company, we always look for quality, and we also look for the right drivers we hire, and we also focus on our customer base too.
That's a good answer there, because the reason why I'm saying that is because if I hire someone to work with me, they're actually benefiting my name, because everything they do goes off my name. You know what I mean? So everything that happens with the people I hire, their behavior, the way they talk, the way they work, and they're sitting there mentioning, okay, they're working for the better way, Robert J. Moore. Next thing you know, they're coming back to me. If they do something wrong, they're going to make my business look bad.
I can't hear. What did you say?
Yeah. Sorry, Robert, just repeat that last sentence there.
Everything that a person does in my business, right, that I hire on, just like yourself, you hire on a taxi driver, he does something wrong, that goes on to your business. They're representing you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So what any individual does within a business, it reflects back on you as the business owner. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. So anything that happens in a business reflects back on you. I mean, like in the taxi business, transport business, there's always crashes, incidents, bumps and scrapes. You can't help it. It's even worse in places like India. And if you've ever been on a tuk-tuk in India, you'll know what I'm talking about. But of course, you know, there are bumps and scrapes and issues and staffing problems, and that happens in any single business. And of course, it does reflect back on you, and it is something that can hurt and it can affect you. Now, this is what's happened to Uber, isn't it? You know, Kalanick was caught in the back of a taxi cab on camera, you know, not talking in the right way to his staff, and it kind of seemed to be, you know, like a landslide of events after that started going wrong. So what do you think the CEO that's now been removed from Uber is thinking now?
Well, there'd definitely be a situation to be debating, because all that reflects back on the person, like I was saying, but at the same time, did he do it? No. But it's all put on him, right? So it's just like Umar here, if company, he's got people below him that could take the flock before it gets to him, and hopefully straighten it out, because once it goes to the CEO, the owner, then there's a huge debate because nobody can figure out what's going on. And we all know that could be a little bit cantankerous at times.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of, you know, black cab driver, we've got Joey online. He's very passionate, you know, about driving a black cab in London. He's gone through his training. Listen, you know, what would be your advice to him to keep going and to make sure that you know he can control his emotions and still keep a generalistic view on what's going on?
Well, what the biggest thing is, I would say to anybody is, you know, like, you got to look at the fact that you're a black cab driver. Yes, I mean, these guys here might be going out. Your competition might be disappearing, but at the same time, you might be losing. Might be a cap put on, as later on all the owners might put a cap on to benefit their community. How does that affect the person's financial situation? That's going to hurt you, because we're so used to getting so much per week or eliminating certain other things in our life. It's going to, I mean, I've seen that happen before when I put a cap on things. Oh, I'll put a cap on this, this, and this. As a behavioral specialist, as a counselor, registered psychotherapist, I deal with all the problems in life that people have, and I just go back to the fact that it's an emotional base that we all deal with. I'm putting a cap on it.
Yeah, we're just losing your reception there, Robert. Your voice just cut out there. So listen, Joey's been a great contributor, so he's very, very pro black cabs. We've also had people coming online, which are indeed Uber drivers. We've had different points of view from around the world today, and obviously thank you very much, everybody, for engaging and joining. So just to repeat then, the broadcast today has been about Uber losing their license in London. Transport for London announced on Friday under London Mayor Sadiq Khan that Uber's license has been revoked. They now have 21 days to recover and to appeal against the decision for the license revocation. And of course, it seems like they've got an uphill struggle. You know, on the news last night, I was watching a broadcast by an MP for London, Wes Streeting MP. He's one of the heads for the transport sectors, and he just said that the London Mayor is sticking by his guns. They feel that Uber aren't fit to operate due to social responsibility issues in London, and I guess now that the legal team for Uber will be, fighting away and firing away in their war room of how they can come back for this. Now, we were hoping to have a gentleman coming on from Texas, and he was going to be sharing with us his thoughts about Uber and how Uber got kicked out of Texas. We're expecting him any minute now. And he was going to say that he feels that Uber should be coming back. They should be allowed back, but they have been kicked out of Texas. And so, Robert, tell us a little bit more about Uber in Canada. What's the situation over there, and how does it work?
Uber in Canada seems to be okay. I mean, you're still going to have your problems. I mean, you're going to have the odd driver. It's going to cause a reflection on the business. And that's a natural thing. It's like any business, right? You're always going to have that person, that one seed in there. But it doesn't grow as long as you catch it. What it is same thing out there. You go on your cell phone and you order yourself Uber. They come to you within a limited time, and you pay through your phone too. And then you get paid through the Uber, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the same thing all over the world right now with Uber. I mean, let's get this back in perspective and just say why we're online. We're online because we're debating about Uber and the effects of consumers in London. If they can't call an Uber, what's going to happen? Will they still be able to get taxi cab rides at a decent price? The owners of the private hire companies that have lost their companies due to the price war and the buying of customers in London. And from a black cabbie's point of view, they can spend up to 3 years going through what's called the knowledge here in the UK, learning their points of interest, doing their runs out on their scooter in the cold, in the rain, in the wet, and they have to learn all the major points and interests and roads in London. They go up before a board. And from what I understand and what I hear, the black cab owners, they are absolutely crapping themselves when they go up to see this board, because the board is very, very tough and can kick them back. Now, Nasser Habibi saying in Canada, Uber drivers are not. Joey Safer said, I'm fine, thank you, I'll go and get some Valium. Cheers, Joey. Nasser Habibi saying in Canada, Uber drivers are not regulated. That's a joke. Do you know anything about the regulation in Canada for Uber? I'm going to ask Umar to see if we can find anything on that online with regard to regulation in Canada. Do you know anything about that, Robert?
I'm just actually Googling it to find out, because I know a buddy of mine that actually is Uber driver, and I'm going to ask him, because I really don't know if they are regulated or not.
Yes, get it. No, that's absolutely fine. So we're just going to be researching. We're going to be researching that. And Adil is saying, okay, let's face it, love it or hate it, Uber is here to stay. It will get its license in the end. That's a fair comment, Adil. I'm sure with a company with that much money, with $70 billion under their belt, one of the largest invested companies most recently on the stock market in terms of the sheer amount of money that was raised for it being a tech company. There's obviously a great deal of confidence in the product. And yeah, 70 billion, that's a lot of money to have under your fingertips. That's a lot of power. I guess it's what Uber do from here to win back the trust of the public, what they do to slightly adjust and change the way that they process and DB check their drivers, and to get some of these few bad eggs and bad apples underway that can cause a problem. Now, I'll share something with you guys now, which is where Uber, will come unstuck. And this happened to me as well. Now, only in a small way for me. For mine, it was taking a company I was a consultant for from about 25 staff to 500 staff in the space of 12 months. And here's what happened. It started out and the company was growing, and we started to go through accelerated growth. Of course, when it's just me controlling it, I can vet everyone that's coming into the business. I can see the quality of their character. I can spend personal time with them, and I get to know them. When your business starts to grow exponentially, what starts to happen is you have to take on staff to recruit people. You have to take on managers to manage. You have to take on sales directors and directors non-stat for them to run the divisions of the company. It's when that happens that your ability to control the quality of your team, the quality of your staff, can come under challenge, and a bad apple can slip through the net. It can happen. Now, This has happened to Uber. They've grown astronomically and globally. And of course, you're going to get a few bad apples, sleep come through the net. It's going to happen. I guess the question is, what do they do now to change that? And how are they going to bring back their brand value and happiness for consumers to be happy using Uber and for them not literally jumping over everybody else's livelihoods in order to do so? So depending on your point of view will determine the emotion that you're experiencing. Now, I've just, Habib is saying, Nasser Habib is saying, anyone with a license for more than 3 years in Canada can drive for Uber. So, of course, I imagine it's, and Amjal Skandaris, and those driver, none of them losing job because they come from local office and they join again the local office when the customer loses the app. They keep using the local office. So so they're saying, saying, where's the 40,000 driver was working before? Yeah, most of them, of course, was working in previous private hire companies. I'm going to pass this back over now to Umar Hussain to explain what happened when Uber came to the market and what happened to the drivers and where they're going now.
When Uber came into the market, newly into London, a lot of drivers were currently leaving the taxi companies who they were working for years, maybe 10 years, 5 years. They ended up leaving their current cab companies. The reason being was because obviously they found more flexibility hours working for Uber. A lot of drivers who I speak to currently, they tried it out for a couple of months, then they went back to their taxi companies. A lot of them were told by their taxi companies that if you end up leaving now, you can't come back. So a lot of drivers face those challenges as well. So some of them at this minute, I mean, if Uber is going to lose its license in 21 days, a lot of cab companies in London, I think they are sticking to their ground saying, we don't want you back. But that could change.
And indeed, so now that the drivers left the companies that they got their training from, that's educated, went to Uber. Of course, if Uber's license is not reinstated and it is full revocation, then these drivers will naturally go back to the taxi cab offices in London, and they'll be more than pleased to take some of the drivers on. But there'll be some drivers they probably won't take back. But look, here's a balanced view, and in life we have to keep open in our minds. This is an emotional one, and one for Robert to jump in on as well. But things happen in business and things happen in life. Life is not easy. In fact, it can get more difficult every single day. Now, I know that Umar shares this view that we can, either hold a hatred towards someone that's wanted to better themselves or tried to move forward, or we can keep an open and warm heart and say, look, if Uber, does lose their license officially after 21 days, well, they've lost it now, but they're trying to appeal. But if they are successful in overturning the appeal, one thing is one thing. Another thing is if they don't, then the private hire firms of London have got a decision to make whether or not to take their drivers back. Now, for me personally, I've been through many wars in business in my life. And for me personally, this is what I would say. Uber drivers, you've most of you by and large have conducted yourselves diligently. Yes, the business model that you are working for, it's not you, it's the model you work for, has disrupted and hurt many of the private hire firms in around the country and around the world. But look, if it doesn't work out for your Uber, yes, of course, if we've got a spot, we'd have you back. But of course, we wouldn't prioritize you above the people that's been loyal to our business, because the people that's loyal to our business would come first. But of course, you'd welcome you back. Now, I'm not sure if Umar shares that point of view. I'm sure, he's a fairly open mind and he'd never turn anybody away. But of course, you've got to understand there's still some bitterness and emotion there where they've been hurt in the past. And Robert, how do you think private hire firms would deal with that level of emotion?
Well, people in the private firms, there's a lot of emotion that's going to conflict. It's how you actually deal with the emotion that's going to actually pursue everything in your life. Your business can either make it or break it with emotion. I mean, as you know, Bradley, you were a millionaire before and then dropped down right to nothing 4 times, right? I mean, that financial part can actually put a structure on our business, our family life, everything we do in life. So, you have to maintain, you have to separate so many things. You got to separate your business from your home life. But if it's affecting your brain and all you're thinking and thinking and thinking, it's all you're thinking about is how to grow. Well, you're actually going the wrong way about it, because as a behavioral specialist, you got to look at the smaller things in order to build the bigger things. You got to look at what's actually the obstacles in the way that are actually helping you build. So when it comes to Umar right there, there's things in your business that's going to put you in like these obstacles that happen in your life. They're going to happen. How do you deal with your obstacles in life on your emotional side?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, this is one of the major factors, which is why, I think personally, I mean, Umar has conducted himself fantastically. He doesn't lose his temper. He doesn't lose his temper. He stays very calm and he thinks about things objectively. And I admire that in him. I've got to say, I admire that in him, because as a business owner, I'd much rather be working with someone that's understanding their emotions and learning to act on what ones they want to act, than someone that's ranting and raving and screaming and shouting. Because the people that ultimately do that rant and rave and scream and shout, what they're actually doing is they're distracting their mind and their ability away from what they could be doing to move themselves and their business forward. And this is called mental and emotional disruption. A mental and emotional disruption can tear you away from seeing what's right in front of you, what you have to do, to you feeling what you must do. What you have to do is to move forward, develop and advance yourself. What you feel, that you have to do and must do are very two different things. So you can get stuck in the quagmire, or say to yourself, how can I take a positive out of this situation? I know it's hard. I know it's tough, because how some of the black cab drivers and private hire firms are feeling right now, it's happened to me many times over. And as Robert just said, I've been a millionaire and I've been bust and broke. In fact, I've lost everything in my life 4 times. And I know what it's like to be on the floor in pain and not being able to get up. I know what it's like to be crying from your stomach, your heart, your head, and the tears that's coming out of your eyes. I know the pain and anguish, the mental emotion and pain and anguish. But then again, equally, I know the divine feeling when you get back up and you go again and you make a transformation and a change in your life. The question is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the taxi cab business and it's not Uber, what are you going to do to move your business forward? If you're a black cab owner, what do you do in your cab that makes your cab stand out, that makes it unique? You can change things. I know there's limitations. If you're an Uber driver, what are you going to do to protect your consumers, getting in the car? If you're a private hire license operator, what are you going to do to adjust and change and move your business forward? Do you really want to keep fighting, or find ways to improve yourself and your business? What's your thoughts on that, Robert?
Well, that all goes back to your branding again, right? Because when you want to change, if you want to be better than the next person, how many people are you competing with? You're obviously competing with a lot of different companies, especially being a black cab driver. You actually in London. How many are?
Yeah, no, so the sound just cut out there. Just going back to Joe Mersapius, and I've heard stories of an Uber driver arriving with his child in the passenger seat in order for him to translate for him. When That's made me laugh, Joey. When Transport for London introduced the English test to the level of a 12-year-old, 40% failed. How right is that? NASA Habib is saying, minicab operators need to retain drivers so that our drivers to use the Uber app too. And Wacker saying Uber has not been successful in hiring existing drivers before its existence because of the lower fares. Uber has attracted many new drivers who have left their retail, their security, their catering jobs. These workers felt that they are better off with Uber. These guys simply go back into the trade or will join local companies. Uber has landed into this problem they are facing today in London because of inexperienced drivers who cannot speak English or have a great driving experience, as well as a corporate and social responsibility. Now, this is a big question. Has Uber diluted their recruitment program? Is it that if anyone's got a heartbeat that they can join Uber? As the Wackers is saying, are the tests and the quality controls not there? Umar, please jump in on this one.
Yeah, hiring of drivers. Obviously, the current existing drivers who left in the back when Uber came into the UK, a lot of them left because they thought there's loads of money in it. but slowly the earnings have gone down because Uber is attracting more drivers elsewhere. But then at the same time, they're also attracting drivers who are in a different industry, who want flexible working hours with their family and with their relatives.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a recruitment driver process. I mean, you go for a process, don't you?
Yeah, you go for that's it. Yeah,
you're petting them, you want to see the
that's it. Yeah,
it takes some time before they can
it
get in
does.
the car,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah. So obviously, for driver recruitment, I mean, for us, for example, if I'm looking for drivers, I have to go through their DBS checks. I have to go through their driving license checks. I have to go through their medical history. I have to go through their criminal records check, everything. Where Uber drivers, I mean, they don't even go through all this sort of stuff because it's been in the newspaper that they're not CRB checked. They are not medically checked for their drivers. They're just hiring anybody. So you could have a murderer in the cab who's driving you about, you know, so that's another thing.
Again, I mean, their procedures, listen, obviously, maybe the procedures, you know, need to be looked at. But again, you know, it is a valid point. Just going back now to a couple of the thread, the content. I'm just going back to that. Bear with me so I can give everybody a fair shout. And don't forget, if you want to come live on the show, look through the thread. There is a live link that you can click and it will automatically bring you into the platform and I can put you live if you want to go live and share. Now, Mindy Hart just went online to say thank you. Great conversation. So we're talking about Uber. We're currently with Robert J. Moore in Canada, an emotions expert, myself, Bradley Chapman, business coach and founder. To my right or left, depending on which way the screen you can see, is Umar Hussain, founder and owner of Happy Camps in Chelmsford Private Hire Company. So what's your point of view? The breaking news in London on Friday was that Uber has lost its license in London. Their license has been revoked by Transport for London, and Sadiq Khan, Mayor, has stated that that they are not fit for purpose with regard to their corporate and social responsibility. Uber now have literally just 21 days to make their appeal to see if they can overturn that decision. If they are successful, Uber will continue, hopefully, on an improved basis. If they're not, what that means is, and if it's too difficult to overcome, you know, the rapes and the abuse and the DB checks and the lack of safety for consumers to use, even though at an affordable price, surely safety must come first. And if they're unsuccessful, that's 40,000 drivers and 3.2 million app users that will migrate naturally back to the places where they got their rides in the first place, from London's black taxis, which takes 3 years to train through the knowledge to earn your right to drive one, and the private hire companies, the Hackney carriage companies that will pull up on the rank at stations, and private independent company operators. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's your thoughts on Uber? What's your thoughts on the emotion? Has it happened to you? Is your family, have they been involved in the Uber experience? Do you have a driver within your family? Do you have a private hire operator? Baron Alsoy is saying that the mayor wasn't even involved in the discussion. Okay, the mayor would have had to have signed it off. The mayor would have been most certainly involved in the discussion. I'm not sure what country are you from. Can you please state that? But I can absolutely guarantee you the mayor would have been part of that discussion. But because the mayor controls the whole of London, and that's why he's the London mayor, Uber is just one topic, one subject in 1,000 subjects and topics that he has to deal with in order to run as mayor of London. But I'm certainly sure he would have had to be part of that. Baron also is saying this is racism. So Baron, how can it be racism? How can it be racism? That doesn't make sense. How can it be racism? Explain where you're from and what country. It's not racism. There's 40,000 Uber drivers just in London alone. And because of Uber and their lack of controls, and the Mayor of London is saying, if you want to be angry with someone, then go back to Uber, the place that, you know, you've been working for, and say, what are you doing to tighten up the procedures? So if we decide to join you, that this doesn't happen again. So you can either blame the Mayor of London, or you can go back to the company that caused the issue through the lack of their organisation controls and DB checks, and say to them, Uber, what are you doing to change this? Because I decided to join you and now I could be losing my living. Your anger must be addressed to Uber. Are Uber a racist company? Is that what you're saying? I'm not quite sure. It's TTL's fault, mate. Okay. It's an open discussion. And of course, you're entitled to your opinion. So, Robert, that's an emotional one from Baron Ulasoy. I'm not sure what country he's from, but perhaps he may be an Uber driver, but he's entitled to his emotion and share his word and what he thinks. He thinks it's racist, and he thinks that it's TFL's fault. What do you think? Whose fault do you think this is that Uber got themselves in this situation, Robert? Do you think it's Transport for London, or do you think that it's Uber's operational policies?
Well, when it comes down to it, it's always corporate responsibilities, right? I mean, first of all, they have to take care of their own. They got to make sure everybody else saves. It's like Umar right there. He runs a business that he has to make sure everything's up to par, everything's safe, all his taxes, everything else is up to par. If you're lacking in somewhere in the responsibility, it's going to affect you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Baron Ulasoy is saying, that he's from London. It is a tough one, isn't it? It is a tough one with emotions that people are dealing with Uber, with their license, their livelihood. It's coming up to Christmas. It's a tough emotion for everybody. It's not an easy place to be right now. I mean, how do they deal with emotions and just stay calm and hope for the best outcome possible?
Well, like I was saying, that if you don't control your emotions, it's going to be a defense mechanism, and all of a sudden you're going to go with the hearsay of others. Oh, I don't like it because of this. I don't like it because of this. I don't like it because of this. But that becomes a battle, and then it's like, okay, well, I get caught in that and say, well, this is why I don't like them. This is why I don't like them. But look at why you really liked them in the first place. Never mind all this other stuff that people are talking about. Anybody can slander anybody, right? Anybody could say anything about anybody. Where's the tangible proof that comes along with it? Right? So you have to really think, when you're looking at tangible proof and you're looking at how I really feel about something, you have to go back to where it really began and why I started using Uber in the first place. All right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's out of value for money, isn't it? I mean, because listen to taxi cab companies in London, and I must concede, when I jump in a black cab now, and Joey, forgive me for this, brother. I jump in a black cab in London. I mean, I don't personally, use Uber, and I think that's probably out of loyalty to friends of mine that are private hire. But look, if I wanted to save money, I probably would do. I have downloaded the Uber app to assess it. But for me, I got to London, I had a black cab. I'm going to go to London, I want to be in a black cab. If I want to go to New York, I want to be in a yellow cab. But yeah, I must concede, even though I love the black cabs, I love the cabbies. How you doing, mate? What's going on? And you've seen this on the foot. They'll talk about anything, the black cabs. They're absolutely great. And they've got heritage and they've got character. A lot of them are Cockneys and East End boys and from the home counties as well. But I must concede, I get in a black cab and I look at the meter, it's going ching, 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 ching. And, I go 3 or 4 miles at 14 or 15 quid. And even if you're stuck in traffic, the waiting cost is damn expensive. But, you've got to enjoy the experience. I get into a black taxi, I have a good old chat with the driver. I always do. I love having a chat away as I'm doing right now. And, you have a little chat and thanks, mate. And I even give them a tip because, although it's an expensive ride, for me, from a business point of view or going to London, it's all part of the London experience. But for others that are in and out cabs every minute of the day in London, those costs can add up. So you can see their point of view why they'd want to consider, a cheaper option, right?
Bradley, when I was out in London there not long ago, was it March 28th and 29th? I was out in London when I got the award out there. I took one cab. There was a black cab. And you know what, I could tell you, I really respect the conversation I had. Yeah, it was a bit pricey, but you know what? It was respectful because of the fact of it made me feel comfortable, made me feel like I'm part of something. And that conversation was going really nice and strong. So I can't allude to the fact of one to the other. I mean, I'm neutral on this whole thing because I don't want to pick sides. But I do want to say that the corporate responsibility needs to come up and they need to really look at what they're doing wrong.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think they've got to make some changes. I just got a comment coming up here saying from Baron Ulasoy said black taxi is unsafe. Equally as Joe Masafia is getting passionate about black cabs and what they go through and the training. You've also got the Uber drivers as well that say black taxis are unsafe. But fellas, let's face it, most taxis that we get into in London whether it be an Uber, whether it be a black taxi, whether it be private hire, most are safe. But it's in any business there are, challenges and difficulties. But black cabs, they are so tough on the way that they are managed and their safety checks. And I know that black cab drivers have to always spend money because it's so tight on the MOT and the relicensing. I know for a fact because my ex-father-in-law was a black cab driver. So I know the costs involved and I know the process. I also know from a private hire point of view, and I've got a gentleman sitting next to me, and we'll talk about safety of cabs now, shall we? Because I also know there are MOTs and check procedures. Now, Uber drivers, can you share with us what your procedure is that you've got to go through on safety checks? So let's get into that. Umar, tell me a little bit about the private hire business and what happens with the cars, what procedures they've got to go through, their safety checks, their check-in systems that's with local council.
I apologize, Bradley. I just want to jump in for 2 seconds. I have about a minute or two left before I have to go. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, it's Robert J. Moore on Facebook or LinkedIn, or you could go the Better Way on Facebook. My book is called From Rock Bottom to Success.
And Robert, thank you very much in joining us. Please do hook up with Robert. Amazing guy, amazing emotion specialist. Once again, From Rock Bottom to Success is his book. You'll find him on Facebook, Robert J. Moore. Connect up with him, and you can connect up on his emotions program and training, which is called The Better Way. He's from Canada. He's an awesome guy. The world is smaller than you think. So yeah, just hang on there, Robert, until you need to go. As soon as you need to go, just obviously disconnect your broadcast. And on behalf of all the viewers and people that's been watching today, thank you very much indeed for your kind, advice and expertise on emotions. And thanks for keeping the broadcast cool and down to earth, and thank you. And now we're back. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's now myself and Umar. So let's go through the checks. And Bayo Ogatoni is saying visit Transport for London approved centre once a year. Joe Safer is saying Robert got any spare Valium, which is absolutely hilarious. Thanks, Joey, bless you. And now Baron also is saying, why do I get the feeling that you're on the black taxi side? Listen, Baron, I'm not on the black taxi side at all. I'm on both sides. As I said before, and I said during all my broadcasts, I'm neutral, buddy. There's no side for me here. From an Uber point of view, I admire their business model and what they've done and how quickly they've grown around the world. I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating how Uber have used technology to embrace business, and people should wake up that's in business that you've got to embrace technology. I appreciate the fact that Uber's created jobs, 40,000 opportunities in London for people to be able to drive full or part-time. I appreciate the fact that Uber's given value to Londoners and around the country. So yes, I'm not biased at all. I'm unbiased, but I equally know what black cab drivers have to go through and what they're feeling with regards to this emotion. And I know what happened to private hire companies when Uber came in. But Baron Ulasoy, no, I'm not on the side of black taxis at all. But emotionally, if you did have a black taxi and you'd studied for 3 years to get your license and you had to buy your taxi cab, which was 40 grand, and you worked to earn your right, and then someone come along that cut the price down by 2/3, and all of a sudden you're struggling to feed your children, honestly, how would you feel? That's why I am unbiased for both sides, because, Uber is a good thing. There's just been a few bad apples that's hurt the egg. I'm going to pass to Umar now to talk about what are the licensing procedures, what are the licensing procedures for cars, and how, how safe are Uber cars, how safe are private hire cars. And I think that black cabs are probably the toughest. They're really tough, right? But here's Umar.
Basically, whenever we put across the country, depending on the local licensing authorities, how they want what their terms and conditions are. But whenever we add a new vehicle onto the fleet, we have to do a council inspection test 6 monthly, twice a year, and we have to renew our vehicle licenses once a year, and we also have to do once a year the national MOT on the vehicle. And we also have to take our cars in for inspection on bodywork damages and everything like that. So there is a lot of checks we normally do. And if you're the 12-seater or 16-seaters, there's a PMI checks every 4 weeks, depending on the mileage you just drive. They're very cool.
So there are safety.
There are safety checks. Yeah, there have been. Yeah, especially on seat belts and everything like that.
Absolutely fantastic. And so listen, ladies and gentlemen, we've been broadcasting live now for about 2 hours. What time do we have now, Umar? Is it about 4 o'clock?
4:30.
4:30. Well, blimey, we've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
We've been broadcasting for 2.5 hours, and I know that there's still 21 people live and been watching continuously. And was expecting another couple of experts to have come on today. On behalf of myself, I want to say thank you for coming online. I wanted to say thank you for your contribution. Whichever, your point of view, whichever standpoint you come from, the burning question on everybody's minds is whether or not Uber is going to overturn their license revocation. Uber has lost their London license. That is a fact. It was announced on Friday. Transport for London have taken away Uber's license in London. Uber now are beginning the appeal process. They have 21 days in which to appeal and to try to overturn. I wish everybody success within the market. There are people's jobs at hand. There are people's lives at hand. And from a peace point of view, I hope that everybody can find peace in this world, that everybody can earn a living, that everybody can be happy, that everyone can find a place in their lives for their business and their income to protect themselves and their families. That's the most important thing. The second thing is, of course, thank you very much indeed for contributing and for getting involved in this very difficult, emotional discussion. And it's been absolutely amazing taking your different points of view. If you're just joining us, my name is Bradley Chapman. I'm a business coach, a published author, a journalist, broadcaster, an inspirational public speaker. And I thank you sincerely from my heart from your time. To my right is Umar Hussain, founder and owner of happycabs.com, Chelmsford, Essex, Stansted, Essex, Malden, Essex. He's been in business 10 years in private hire and online. My guests today and panelists were Tim Burt, former CBS radio advertising executive, Mindy Hart, specialist PR and specialist social media expert from the United States as well. And also equally the amazing Robert J. Moore, emotion specialist all the way from Canada. I'd like to thank you all for joining. Thank you all for getting involved. Please do feel free to reach out to me on my Facebook pages. And again, if the live broadcast in the future help you, it'll be a pleasure once again for you to be joining. I just want to again thank everybody that's been commenting during today's video. And I thank you all. I wish you all a beautiful Sunday. Bayo Ogatoni, thank you. He said, thanks, mate. I've enjoyed your show. Please do it again. I promise you we will. And again, Baron Ulasoy, you be happy, Karma, we've hit black taxi back. Ha. No problem at all. It's all fair. It's all fair game, Baron. It's all fair game. At the end of the day, we've all got livings and incomes to protect ourselves and our families. And it's been a really fantastic debate. Mr. Mike Allison is also saying that it's a great broadcast, Brad. And he's saying catch up shortly. Mike Allison's just launched a new telecoms business. So if you are an Uber driver, by the way, and you are finding yourself that you may be losing your job, this guy here, Mr. Mike Allison, connect with him. He's just launched the telecoms business where you can earn extra money by introducing friends that have commercial telephone bills, companies' bills, and you can earn yourself between £2,000 and £10,000 a month. That is Support Telecom. Support Telecom. Look Mike Allison up, connect with him. So if you may lose your job, you can always go and earn some money with Mike because he's now recruiting and his company's just launched. Equally, thank you also. Thank you again, Bayo, for your communication and comments. Thank you, Baron. It's been very entertaining and I wish you a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. God bless you all. And for everybody else that's engaged in the conversation, let's hope that everything works out for all of us. And I wish you peace and love. I'm Bradley Chapman. This has been an experience today, an emotional experience, and my sincere guest and friend of 15 years to my right is Mr. Umar Hussain. I'm also going to ask him to wish you best wishes on your continued journey. His company is happycabs.com, and I'm sure if things don't work out in London, there may be a phone call you can make with him. So signing off from me now, I'm going to pass to Umar to end the final comments.
Thank you very much for joining our show today. It's been great responses on the comments. If you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn, Umar Hussain. or you can email us direct, umar@happycabs.com. It's been a great pleasure speaking to anybody. If anybody's after a job or anything like that, please contact me. That'd be great. And we'll be live soon. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you do from here, enjoy your Sunday. Find the peace in your heart. Control your emotions. Things happen in business. Things happen in life. I know there's been plenty happened to me. As I say, I've been busted and broke 4 times in my life. I've been crawling on the floor in pain. I know what it's like to be betrayed, hurt, kicked. I know what it's like to try at something and then to fail. I know what it's like to launch a business and for it to be taken away from you because the financial climates of the world crash. I know that pain. I know that feeling. But you can either get angry or you can move yourself forward. I choose to move forward and get back up. What do you choose? Have a great Sunday afternoon. I'm Bradley Chapman, business coach. Thank you very much indeed for watching. God bless everybody and have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you. Bye.
Thank you.